Skull and Globers, episode 32. Let's get it.
Days after days, pseudoscience just a big charade, making theories they just can't explain, on philosophically biased claims. Days after days, we break away just like a renegade, so pay attention, gonna get a grade. We schooling globers till they all awake. Schooling globers with diplomas and a chip on the shoulder. Debate is over, mind is sober, solar system disclosure. Can't go back once you heard the facts. We make a pact, never take the backs. Schooling ballers and the followers that give them their dollars. They try to holler in the chat that you're a fraud, not a scholar. They hating y'all, that's why they attack. The earth is flat no matter how much they laugh. Days after days, pseudoscience just a big charade, making theories they just can't explain, on philosophically biased claims. Days after days, we break away just like a renegade, so pay attention, gonna get a grade. We schooling globers till they all awake.
In a world, we always seem to have mysterious technical difficulties, but I think that we are good. Unmute for the Discord. All right. So, Skull and Globers, episode 32, I believe, and we're going to go back to the basics tonight. Because it appears that it's needed, and I find that it gets overlooked because we get so in the weeds, right? And we've progressed the conversation with no help from the opposition, frankly. And we've started discovering a lot more deception, right? Whether that be GPS or interferometry in general, and the relationship with the sky and our measurements, and how we always use a stationary lab frame, and the mental jiu-jitsu of relativity, and very important topics, but we get into the weeds talking to people about stuff like this. And when you start to kind of even go over one of the beginning steps of the conversation, you realize, oh, well, these people don't even grasp the first parts of FE, right? Like they can't say out loud what the arguments are. Recently actually made this point. You'll find out that most people that violently oppose, and I do believe that's accurate terminology, violently oppose FE, they can't even flap or stillman a sunset on flat Earth, right? Like they can't say it out loud. And stillman is presenting the strongest argument for the other side. It isn't specific to a person or what other people think. It's in order to truly understand the conclusion that you're going to come to, much less confidently assert it, you should be able to fully grasp, comprehend, and articulate the strongest facet of every other side's argument, every argument on the other side. So we're going to go back to the basics. This is kind of the crux of the entire issue. And if you don't know, of course, we were told that we live on a spinning, tilted, wobbling globe, and that people have been to space, and we've all seen the imagery. In fact, it's in the thumbnail, and that we're in an ever-expanding universe of nothingness, and we fly around the sun, etc. The reason people started to bring this into question was seemingly technology outpaced the lie, or at least the blind belief and assumption that that was true, where people could begin to test it for themselves, and we started having a plethora of observations that did not match that assumption, and began to bring the radius value of this assumed sphere into question. And predominantly these observations have to do with the horizon. So what we're going to talk about tonight is none other than the horizon. So let me pop up the PowerPoint. And I do think it's important, although it is very, very basic stuff. So here we have a short presentation, and then we're going to watch a couple videos. And you can go out and test this stuff for yourself, which is the beauty of FE. And I will actually come back over here real quick to kind of elucidate this. We live in a paradigm, and thankfully so, where people are beginning to not take anything for granted when it comes from an authority figure or perceived authority. People have discovered that quote-unquote science, which has actually evolved into scientism, a religious adoption of the idea of science, has really got us in a sticky situation. And people just kind of blindly believe the narrative of whatever the mainstream consensus is. And we saw this really take center stage with the situation that started in 2020, right? And people were called science deniers a lot. And of course, now all of those people that were mocking and ridiculing and using that terminology are eating crow. Some are refusing to do so, but that's no surprise. That's religious behavior. And so I'm bringing it, I mean, it's just undeniable at this point that the people that were vocalizing opposition to those totalitarian orders were correct. And so that is just a perfect recent, more modern example of why it's always important to question things, etc. And so I'm making the point that the reason that flat Earth is a thing, and if only for this reason it's a good thing, is that people stopped believing what the mainstream consensus was, things that we took for granted as if it were true, whether that be what people do to their children when they're first born, where they put them in school, etc. Right? People step back and they're like, I need actual empirical evidence to verify anything I'm going to internalize, hold to be true, and then develop my worldview based on those things. And FE was birthed from that. And I think it was important to point that out because if you can't understand the beauty in that, the wisdom in that, then you're not going to resonate with the true Earth discussion. You're not going to understand it. Right? If you're still coming from a viewpoint of we've known this so long, or science does this, you begin to reify and personify science, an idea. You attribute concreteness to it, and you give it characteristics of it's an individual. You're not going to be able to understand this. Wipe the slate clean. If FB is stupid, the Earth's for sure a globe, then nothing should fear investigation, certainly not the truth. So I know that was more of a meta point, but for the people that I know are starting to trickle in here that are not particularly familiar and or convinced of this discussion, that is the mindset you have to go about this in. People that will cope and say like, oh, of course, that's what cults say. No, cults say don't look into things. Don't think for yourself. Trust me, I know better than your senses and better than your perceived observation. So that is kind of the meta here, but hopefully that resonates with who needs to hear it. So we'll come back over here to the full screen. All right, so and I brought that up because what spurred that was basically you can go out and test this yourself, and that's what we did, and that's why we are sitting here with you today. All right, it's Golden Globers, episode 32, and it's about the horizon. So, what is the horizon, and do we ever see the alleged curve of the Earth? Very basic stuff here, but if we live on a sphere, right, as you look out from a sphere and you have a line of sight, you're going to have a geometric horizon. That's an actual physical location that blocks your view in the distance, similar to looking out and having a hill in front of you and not being able to see out in front of it. Okay, this is a geometric necessity of living on a sphere. The Earth is curving down and away from you in all directions away from your feet. As you look out, you will get a tangent point where you will actually have your line of sight blocked physically. That would be the horizon. Okay, so it's important to define a few things. Here I have apparent versus actual location. So the apparent location of an object is its position in space as seen by an observer. Very simple. It's where you observe something to be, where you perceive it to be, right? Apparent location, and this is not the same as an actual location. These are two different things. Name two different things for a reason. So apparent location, where something is perceived to be, right? Where it is observed to be. And then we have an actual location. And the actual location is the real physical place where someone or something is located at a particular moment in time. It is the tangible position or coordinates of an object, person, or event in the physical world. Now, when this pertains to the horizon, there is a actual tangible physical location called the geometric horizon, or the curve of the Earth. Now, this is what we see when we look out at what is referred to as the horizon. This is just a time lapse throughout a day. We see the horizons constantly moving. Now, we know that this is not an actual position that we're seeing, right? This can't be the leading edge of a sphere physically blocking things in the distance. The Earth is not shrinking and expanding throughout the day. It's not stretching and doing yoga. It's not breathing in and out. The horizon is just an apparent location. This proves it, as does any observation, right? Now, it's very important, and I'll kind of do this, me partially on the screen thing here. And then I'll switch to the full PowerPoint screen for Discord in just a moment. But it's very important to point this out. The way this started was people started making observations and they realized that it wasn't adding up. It wasn't matching the predictions of the globe. And what we were told was flat Earth is so stupid. It's been disproven thousands of years ago. And it was disproven because a couple people stuck sticks in the ground and people just looked out and saw boats disappear. That's the mainstream story, that Aristotle looked out and he, with all of his intellectual brilliance, looked out and saw boats disappear and thought, these boats could only disappear if they're going over the curve of the Earth. Okay, so we were told, you're so stupid, you can just go out to the ocean and look at boats disappear. Well, what did we do? We went out and we looked at the boats. Sure enough, they disappeared. Then we pulled out our binoculars, we could see the boat again. And then it would disappear. Then we could pull out a P900 or P1000 and see the boat again. What does that prove? It proves that if you were to make the erroneous assumption that when it initially disappeared to the naked eye, it was due to curvature of the Earth, you would be patently wrong, right? Objectively incorrect. Okay, now, so we were told you can just go look out and boats go behind the curve of the Earth. Anyone can just go prove the Earth is a ball just by going to the ocean. That was disproven. And we were mocked and ridiculed for that. Now, if you stop right there, put a pause on it right there. Like I said, if flat Earth is only important for this reason, it's still very important. If we had gone the route of like just believing what mainstream propaganda talking points we were fed and just repeating them ad nauseum, people would have stopped there. People went and tested it and said, no, that's not the case. It isn't the case. Whether you think it's the case, want to believe it's the case, you heard it was the case, it's just provably not the case. Everyone can go and check it. And again, that's why flat Earth, quote unquote, has a 99% retention rate, because those people typically go out and test it themselves. You're not going to convince me I didn't go out and make dozens and dozens of observations, right? You're not going to just talk to me on the internet and somehow I'm going to forget that I did that. Okay, so it's important to remember what the first claim was. Okay, you can go out and see the curve of the Earth. We were then shown pictures over the ocean, right? And we were like, they were saying that's the curve of the Earth. Look how the bottom of the buildings are missing. Look how the boat goes. We're looking at the curve of the Earth, the actual position of the curve of the Earth. The horizon is the curve of the Earth. Okay, so that's what we were told. And I want you to pay attention to how this conversation has progressed and just use a little bit of wisdom, pattern recognition, and discernment. You'll realize that when someone is telling the truth, they are going to stay consistent. They're going to remain consistent. Someone that is representing something untrue will have to constantly shuck and jive and update and change their position. When something is cemented in, supposedly verified for thousands of years, this should never be the case. All right, so we'll pop back over here. And then let me change the screen for Discord. Okay, so here we see clearly the horizon is apparent. Now, let's move on to the next one. So here are some basic questions that we have. Is the horizon an apparent location? Well, we just verified that it clearly is. Okay. Pretty undeniable. Like I said, this is very basic, but very important. Second question is, do we ever see the actual curvature of the Earth? Two very straightforward questions. And then the last question is, if we never see the actual curvature of the Earth, and again, to clarify, that is an actual physical, tangible location that physically obstructs things in the distance. So the position updated to, oh, well, you never see the actual curve of the Earth because there's an atmosphere on the Earth. There's never a time you can look at over the Earth and there be no atmosphere. So, of course, it's always the apparent position and it moves around. Well, that's not what you first told us. You first told us, stupid flurf, you can go out and just prove the Earth's a ball by looking at the horizon. That's the curve of the Earth, and it blocks things in the distance because it's a physical, tangible, geometric location. Okay, so that has changed. The stupid flat earthers have made the entire interpretation and understanding of the globe Earth evolve and change. Which should, that's just a fact, right? Regardless of what you think of the Earth, what I just said is a fact and speaks volumes. So we have, is the horizon an apparent location? Do we ever see the actual curvature of the Earth? And if we never see the actual curvature of the Earth, how would you even know it was there in the first place? Very simple questions. So we'll go through them. It's the same setup as usual. I do a quick presentation. We open it up. People that believe in the globe Earth or are skeptical or on the fence or whatever, they're given priority. This is not a let's avoid the questions and bring up other random gotchas or use sophistry to avoid, obfuscate, convolute, and water down the conversation. Diluting the conversation is bad faith. That's really the only rule that I have, is no screaming, no cussing, no interrupting, and no intentional bad faith or obfuscation, right? I mean, it's pretty simple. If you can run through these questions and you have follow-ups about the subject, then that's cool. But if there's some type of intentional obfuscation or convolution, then that just seems like it's counterproductive to me. So those are the simple questions that we have. I did have a few more slides I didn't save and update, but it was just a definition of the horizon, showing that the word horizon literally comes from the Greek word for horizontal. So the definition, we'll just say them, right? The definition of horizon is where the sky appears to meet the ground. Where the sky appears to meet the ground. And then we have the actual etymology of the word, right? Horizon. That is where we get horizontal. The etymology of horizontal comes from Greek for horizon. Okay, and that's because, the horizon's horizontal. Obviously, that's why it's called that. So, very simple questions. What we're going to do now is we're going to pop over to a couple videos. We're going to watch something that can help elucidate the apparent nature the horizon. And people that have been in this conversation for a long time, they're like, this is such a basic thing. We forget that people that are first getting into it, they can get caught up in these elaborate claims where people reify coordinate systems and claim exclusivity, and then they drag you through the weeds and they're like, what's going on? This is ridiculous. But we forget that the very basics were never sufficiently rebutted. To this day, they're not sufficiently rebutted. And that's what we need to show people that are new to the conversation. And this is what we need to also show people that are claiming to know that we live on a ball. If you think flat Earth is such dangerous misinformation, you should address the primary argument. So I think that Discord should be able to hear it. If you're on Discord, you can right click. If you're on a computer, you can turn the volume of the video up and you should be able to hear it on YouTube as well. So of course, if you want to support the stream, ko-fi.com/Witsit, link in the description, link pinned to the top of the chat, and we will read them off periodically if you have any questions. All right, let's go ahead and check this out. It's only 3 or 4 minutes. Someone asked whose video is this? It is Sky Free. Okay, so these are micro and macro comparisons of a horizon. They use a little boat, they use a little remote control vehicle, etc. Show him some love, Sky Free. And obviously you see the direct comparison of what it is. Now, we're going to get more into the specifics here. I will pop on the camera real quick to kind of explain some of this. But like, okay, so we know the horizon is apparent. We see it constantly fluctuate. That is the only viable explanation. The final question on the list for tonight is, if we never see the actual location of the curvature of the Earth, then how did you even know it was there in the first place? It's a very simple yet very pertinent question. This spurs off into a bunch of things, and I wanted to open it back up. I wanted to open it up before we start really getting into some of the stuff, but just keep these things in mind while we watch this next video before we open up the discussion, right? They said, oh, well, you can just see the curvature of the Earth by going out to the ocean, and then the fact that things are blocked in the distance prove the Earth is a ball, because the horizon that you see is the curve of the Earth. Of course, we saw that's not the truth. It's not a geometric, physical, tangible location. It's apparent. It constantly fluctuates. I mean, at times you can see 10, 20, 30 times further than you're supposed to see if there was a physical obstruction there. And then they changed their claim to, well, of course you can never see the actual geometric horizon or the actual curve of the Earth, because there's always an atmosphere. And so we're only seeing the apparent horizon, which apparent horizon is redundant, because again, the definition for horizon is where the sky appears to meet the ground. So we fluctuated that over there. Right, so then we're like, okay, well, you can ask the question, well, okay, but if you never see the actual curve of the Earth, how did you know it was there in the first place? So then what they began to say was, well, in order to have the apparent horizon, you would have to have a geometric horizon. So in order to have a horizon, all you have to have a geometric horizon. Of course, the implication being that if you were on a flat Earth, you wouldn't have a horizon. Wherein we simply ask the question, and shout out to Crypto for this, the most concise way to rebut that is, okay, then if we wouldn't have a horizon on a flat Earth, would it be all sky or all grounds? Where in which they immediately walk their claim back, because they realize it's absolutely asinine, and they say, okay, there would be a horizon, but it wouldn't be a distinct hard line. Okay, well, what would it be? Well, it would be like a fuzzy gradient where the sky and ground appear to converge in the distance, and it would be like this fuzzy, blurry gradient in the distance. And then we said, that's convenient. That's literally what we see always. Always. What they will do is they'll start cherry picking out observations that are zoomed out of the ocean, and they'll claim that it's a distinct hard line. And then when you actually zoom in on any of those images, or you zoom in with the camera live, you'll see, no, it's a fuzzy gradient. And we're seeing that's what it is. In fact, we're seeing that where we see the water, because there's a distinct color contrast from the sky, you could say, oh, there's a hard line because you see the horizontal water. Funny enough, you'll see things floating in the sky above it, above that hard line, right? Well, it's not a hard line. You can zoom in, you'll see a gradient. And we know that the water itself is up in the sky because the boat is up in the sky. So you can actually you have inferior and superior mirages, like reflections that happen, right? Either the water reflects up or vice versa. And you see the illusion of a horizon down below it. You zoom in and there's always a gradient. These are very important parts of the discussion that we'll cover tonight. This is just further proof that the horizon is merely optical, merely apparent. It fluctuates based on atmospheric conditions. So those are very important. And I want you to the reason I want to do this stream is because I think that we've let them get away with it in a way, which is you see that they're constantly moving the goalpost, where right now their current claim is they'll say there wouldn't even be a horizon on the flat Earth. Then they'll change it to, oh, but it would be a fuzzy gradient. And then you point out that's what we always see. So really by deduction, they've said what we always see is what we would see if the Earth were flat. And what we would see if the Earth were a globe, we don't see. And they've now conceded that they cannot even explain how they know there's a geometric horizon there or a curve there unless they just assume it, and you can never actually see it. That is the state of the flat Earth discussion in 2024. As a still man, I do not like to straw man people, right? I think that's ignorant. And you wonder why flat Earth is only growing. Well, that's why. There is no sufficient rebuttal. Okay, so we're going to watch this next video real quick, and then we're going to open it up. This one's a little longer, so let's watch the short one, and then if we want to watch another one, I think this one's really important. So I have it sped up, and I think we should just watch it. And I think we're still showing that on Discord. We are. All right, let's watch it.
Welcome to the empty horizon. Keep in mind that this is an empty horizon. There are no visible boats. As we zoom in, we see two boats appear along what I call the wavefront edge, which is the blue line of last discernible water. We also can see, as we zoom in further, something I call the mirror line. It is a reflection that forms under the boats after they pass the wavefront edge. Two major structural landmarks for this large ship are the top of the mast and also the top of the bridge, which could be considered the top of the body of the boat. It is clearly very large. The mast represents approximately 1/3 of the full height of the boat. Instruments and equipment attached to the mast structure create a visual line that divides the mast approximately in half. This interval therefore represents approximately 1/6 of the overall height over the water. As our target ship passes behind another boat, we can see that it is not going slowly. It is doing something that mariners call making a land against the other boat in a noticeable fashion. We can also note that although the wavefront line is the same, it's consistent for our point of view, the mirror lines are different and unique to each object that is being reflected. The next time that this ship passes against other boats, we have a demonstration of the foreground, midground, and background effect. None of these boats is particularly close to one another in real space, but they look as if they are based on composition. May I also note again that this is not a slow-moving boat. It is traveling at significant speed over water. The background sailboat demonstrates for us an additional factor, the low-lying mist layer that sits over the water and acts as a distorting lens. Both effects are very well illustrated by this next motorboat, seen here entering on the left. The variations in density of the suspended water create visual distortions not unlike that of antique glass. The distortion is most observable in real time rather than when it is paused. The motorboat arriving from the right illustrates for us that it has its own mirror line that is distinct from the one of our main boat in the background. As the large ship continues to move away from us, more and more of it is falling inside the band of mist. Nonetheless, the observable structure proportions remain the same, with the mast representing 1/3 and the body of the boat 2/3 of the space above the mirror line. As the ship proceeded further into the distance, we find this continues to be true even as the distortion line rises to the point where it starts to affect the mast itself about here. the ship continues to move away from us, getting smaller in the distance, the amount of the ship that is inside the distortion continues to rise. As the distortion increases with distance, the white inflatable tender sitting on the deck becomes a white smear and melts into the sea.
One thing I've discovered, as undeniable and just clearly verifiable this is, the fact that people can wrap their mind around, oh, ball, blocks things, horizon must be ball, is such a simple, like, open and closed claim, like alleged explanation, that they cling on to that one. And when you try to then show them a bit of the nuance of the Atmos and optics, their brain shuts off and they compartmentalize it as flurfs making stuff up. If the Earth is a globe, everything that's being shown here still exists. And that's very important. If you're a truth seeker, if you devolve to denying easily testable and verifiable reality, something's going on. I encourage you not to be intimidated by, anonymous keyboard warriors that attack you or whatever, right? Just throwing that out there. I'm pointing that out because I think it's important, and I can already feel what starts to happen to people. They're like, but my other claimed answer is something I've heard many times and can easily understand, and it's just like presented very simply, whereas really what's happening in the distance, although is quite simple, it requires a bit of additional understanding. But I would say that, truth is worth that. All right, let's move on.
Until only the davit that deploys it remains. The lensing effect essentially acts like a funhouse mirror, stretching the top of the image and compressing the bottom of the image over time. Here, as our ship passes behind a channel marker, we can make several observations. The channel marker has its own mirror line very, very close to our wavefront. By contrast, the mirror line for the ship is much higher, seeing as it is much further away. Another indicator is how much smaller the ship has appeared to become. It is now more or less 1 story tall, maybe much less. Watching our ship make land against the channel marker reminds us that it is still traveling at speed and making significant distance over the time of this recording. At this point, both the top of the mast and the spreader bar level are above the height of the channel marker. As the ship moves away at speed, we recall that the interval between the top of the mast and the spreader bar can be used to calculate the expected.
All right, just look at that right there. Look at the bottom of the boat. Okay, and we're about to see a few other observations, and what you consistently see is the boat looks like it's floating in midair. Actually, I'll save you guys. We'll just get into it. Where's the horizon here? Okay, where's the horizon? But we see a distinct line. Well, not really, actually. That's fuzzy, and if you zoom in, it's a fuzzy gradient that blurs into the sky, but where you think you're seeing a line isn't even actually where the water is, right? The boat is higher than that. We see that all the time. We see boats floating in the air all the time. If you actually go to the ocean and make observations, you know this to be true. That shows that if you cherry pick one of these when there's not an object to reference and to look at in reference to the horizon, and you say, well, that's the curve of the Earth, blah, 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 that's dishonest and disingenuous, because just because there's a color contrast between the water and the sky here does not mean that that's a physical location blocking things in the distance, although obviously smaller waves in the foreground can block things in the distance that are much bigger than that, just like your thumb can block out a 15-story building if your thumb is close enough to you. That is not the same as a physical Earth curvature, and the horizon is up higher than you would see based on, just a color distinction or contrast. This is very simple stuff.
The distance between the top of the mast and the spreader is about 1/6 the height of the total boat. A small ferry or pleasure craft passes in front of us right along the wavefront edge. and then another, much, much larger fairy passes inside the band of distortion with its own nearer mirror line. As I take this moment to zoom out and observe the overall structure, keep in mind that now the ship appears to be shorter than the channel marker, and yet 1/3 of it appears to be mast, and 2/3 of it appears to be boat. Oh, and I'd almost forgotten. This started out as an empty horizon. Yeah, I mean, like, totally empty. There wasn't anything on it when we started, and that was 18 minutes ago. One last time, to be clear, the distance between the mast top and the spreader bar, and its distance from the mirror line is not inconsistent with the entire boat still being present above the mirror line, but hidden by distortion.
Okay, I think the point has been made. I will show the PowerPoint one more time, and there's a few other videos I can just play while we discuss this. But I want to remind everyone I broke it down very simply, and I listed the questions as to be very, very simple. Let me pop this up. All right, here are the questions. Very simple stuff. Is the horizon an apparent location? Meaning, is the horizon that we see, not some made-up figment of your imagination claiming that there's something else there but we can't see it or whatever. Is the horizon an apparent location? Do we ever see the actual curvature of the Earth, as in the actual position? And third question is, if we never see the actual curvature of the Earth, how would you know it was there in the first place? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open up the conversation, and as I do that, I'm going to actually play this other video. All right, cool. And then I will let the Discord see the video that we're playing. Okay. All right, so if anyone on the stage already wants to say anything, or if anyone wants to answer the questions or defend the globe position or whatever, feel free to jump on. But yeah, so, and like I said, I told everyone before we started, like, it's super simple, basic stuff. But like I said earlier, I realized that, bro, this has gotten lost in the sauce, right? And this is why we're here. The horizon is not a physical place. There's not a giant hump, not a physical hill blocking things in the distance. One thing I will point out is what they say is refraction, right? They say, oh, well, it's because you're looking through an atmosphere and there's always refraction. It's moving the horizon. Well, that's another thing that has changed since flat Earth, because originally, and still to this day, actually, with like the quote unquote subject matter experts like Andrew Thomas Young, you have 5 primary effects of refraction that are defined, and they're all in relation to the horizon. Looming, for example, is an object lifted up in relation to the horizon that can be observed that would previously not be seen because it was behind or below the horizon. So now all of a sudden they're taking the refraction phenomena and they're applying it to the horizon when the very definition of those effects are in relation to the horizon. Flat Earth is so stupid. It has the entire interpretation of globe Earth basics completely rewriting themselves, which would be pretty dumb. So, yeah, I bet you guys didn't know exactly how basic I was saying, but yeah, what do you guys think, or anything you want to throw in before maybe someone jumps on?
I mean, all I can think when we were watching it is they got us so good. Like, it's so simple and straightforward. They just kept us from looking at it somehow. That's why, like, for me, I had to get to the geocentrism first and go through relativity and figuring out that was all debunked and stuff, because I just had too much ego for this, essentially. Like, it's so straightforward when you just like realize you literally just see too far, and that like you just look at it objectively and actually do the thought exercise of taking yourself off of a sphere and looking at your surroundings. Just mentally look at just take a fresh look at the horizon. So yeah, I think this is fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's crazy, man. Like kind of my story was that so I started going out and like making observations, and then I got a P900 and I kept making observations. And dude, what you see with the horizon is like blatantly not a real physical place. And when you zoom in on it, whether with infrared or a regular camera, you see this wavy, fuzzy, blurry gradient. And so like if the sky is orange and you're looking over the ocean, which is blue, you'll see the blue start to merge into the orange when you zoom in on the perceived horizon. And depending on the day, you'll see huge wide bands of this blurry, fuzzy gradient with opacity. It becomes abundantly clear that when things look like they're disappearing into this like wall that everything falls off, all the light falls off, and the sky and the ground begin to just like merge together optically. And that's not very complicated, right? Like you said, it's a very straightforward thing. I mean, this is the part that's so funny, right? It's like, do we ever see the actual curvature of the Earth? No. Okay, if we never see the actual curvature of the Earth, how did you even know it was there? The only answer is, well, you presuppose it's there. Right?
Can I make a very quick comment?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, as far as infrared, specifically, infrared enables you to see much further than in the visible light spectrum, which is why it's so useful in military applications, for example. But that fact alone is a problem for the idea of a physical horizon, because if it's physical, then we couldn't see any further with infrared.
Yeah, that's correct. Like with infrared, you would actually see the horizon block more things, right? You would see more of the bottom of objects blocked, and you wouldn't see as far. Yeah, that's another funny part about all this as well, is if you actually go make observations, that's actually what I'm hoping this stream does, is motivates people just to go look for themselves. When it's clear outside, you can see much further, and what infrared does is it cuts through a lot of like the turbulence or physical obstruction, like whether that be because of humidity or moisture or whatever, and you can see further. We are now supposed to believe that when it's clearer outside, that's when there's the most refraction. And to your point with infrared, if we're seeing further things in the distance that we couldn't previously see when we use infrared, well, infrared's a longer wavelength, less affected by refraction, which goes directly in opposition to the claim that we're seeing further because of refraction. It's pretty crazy. It's like if you ask a 5-year-old, hey, when it's clear outside, can you see further? They're going to say yes. And I'll say one more thing in case everyone doesn't understand this concept. We have fog lights and we have regular headlights, right? If it's really foggy outside, you won't see the car with regular headlights, but you'll see the car that have their fog lights on because it's stronger intensity of light, and the light attenuation of the fog doesn't cause that light to reach its extinction point as fast as the lights that are not as strong, less intensity. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Did the headlights get blocked by the curve of the Earth, but the fog lights refracted around? Of course not. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, and like this is how simple I think that the debate really is. It's actually this simple because you go through these questions: is the horizon an apparent location? Do we ever see the actual curvature of the Earth? If we never see the actual curvature of the Earth, how would you even know it was there in the first place? The only answer is, well, if you presuppose it. We looked at sticks in the ground, we did this, we did that. Like, I claim that it's impossible to have whatever you say, right? You presuppose there's a physical curve there, even though you can never actually observe it or find it, and it doesn't actually match where it should be. Well, what that means is the onus is on you. You're claiming something that can't be empirically validated. So this whole idea that flat Earth has the burden of proof is ridiculously incorrect. It is not. You guys are claiming something that can't be tested. It's been falsified, actually. But I see we maybe have any globe earthers on the panel want to jump in. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you guys think about my main point here either, but like we talk to them about all kinds of stuff, right? And I think we should. I think that we've progressed the conversation a lot. A lot of people on the stage, actually. And that's important because we're trying to figure out the truth of where we live, right? It's important for us. We're at the kind of the cutting edge of actual science and, intellectual endeavor and stuff like that. But when we're getting into the weeds of people trying to like just cram like the archaic relativity theory down our throat, no matter how many times we've absolutely eviscerated it, it's good to occasionally step back and be like, wait, this is the same party that will not even honestly conversate about the horizon or a sunset. I don't know, because what I hear a lot is that people they tune in, they listen to my recent content, and they're like, it's just super complicated. It's kind of goes over my head. And then a lot of flat earthers reach out to me and like, I think it's awesome that you're covering these subjects, but people need to also know the basics. And I think they're correct. Like I will say from my personal experience, about 95% of the people that defend the globe online have not gone out and done observations. And it's probably flipped around. Like at least 80% of flat earthers have done some type of observation themselves, truly thinking about what the earth is. Yeah. Anyway, and this should be like a super easy topic for a globe earther to step in and defend the globe. This is like the basic claim of the globe, that there's a physical location that blocks stuff in the distance, you stupid flurf. Anyway, and I'll repeat this one more time. Don't you guys find it very telling that it started with, the fact that things disappear over the ocean proves the Earth's a globe. You're seeing the curve of the Earth when you see the horizon. Turned into, oh, well, you never see the actual curve of the Earth, but I promise it's there. And then we say, wait, how did you ever know it was there in the first place if you can't actually ever see it or find it? Well, because a horizon would be impossible on a flat Earth. There would be no horizon on a flat Earth, which is an absolutely asinine claim. That is what 98% of them now say. And it's like, okay, if there would be no horizon on a flat Earth, which is ridiculous on its face, then since it's where the sky appears to meet the ground, would it be all sky or all ground? Oh, well, I don't mean there literally wouldn't be a horizon, right? I mean it just wouldn't be a distinct line. What would it be then? Well, it would be like a blurry, fuzzy gradient. You mean like literally what we see always? That's not true. We do see a distinct line, and they'll send you a picture zoomed out of the ocean. You can even zoom in on that picture. You'll see that it is fuzzy at the very horizontal convergence point. You zoom in on any actual observation, you see it. Next time you're in a plane, if it's clear, just look out in the distance, and it's abundantly clear. There's a huge span of that convergence point. If you look over the ocean and zoom in, you'll see there's this huge span. Like more than half the time, you'll see boats look like they're kind of floating in the air, because there's such a wide span of where the horizon occurs, right? So don't you guys think that itself is incredibly telling? This is why flat Earth is super censored. Because even the basics of what has happened since 2015 is so telling. I find it pretty interesting. That's where we are now. We let them get away with it so much. They're going around saying that a flat Earth wouldn't have a horizon. That is actually insane. Yeah, I don't know. Is that not effectively just tapping out? I guess. I don't know. And they say it. This is the thing. They've devolved to tactics. And if you don't believe me, just go on X. Go follow the people on the stage. Go follow me on X. And just go read the stuff that people say. The tactic now is just to pretend so overly confident and sure that flat Earth is ridiculous that you can say anything under that umbrella and it's automatically true, right? There wouldn't even be a horizon on flat Earth. Like what? I don't know. To me, the whole debate ends right here. The horizon is apparent. It fluctuates. There's a physical, tangible location. It should be geometrically. If the Earth is a sphere, it cannot be further than that. We see it way, way further than that all the time. And the clearer it is, the further away it is. It's merely an apparent location. And then you can't just claim the light from the horizon is bending at that rate because we see objects from too far away at the same time that would have to be bending at different rates. Even to claim that the horizon is a physical location that's being lifted and brought back due to refraction is a whole new world that doesn't even exist because refraction is defined as effects in relation to the horizon. The globe is so solid that they've had to completely change their position over and over and over. Do we have any globers on the panel that want to say anything?
Yeah. So Darren here.
What's up?
I guess a couple of things. So you acknowledge refraction is a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is caused by the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. And we have a pretty good handle on measuring the properties of the atmosphere in relation to refraction.
No. That's patently false.
No?
That's patently false.
I don't think it's patently false.
But it is, though.
There's lots of research into directly measuring the refractive properties of air. For example, a team at Leisha, the guys that make surveying tools, set up a trial where they had two of their total stations with EDM pointing at each other. Not quite pointing at each other, but measuring the deviation in their measurements over time. And they ran that for like 3 or 4 days, across a whole bunch of weather scenarios. And they're able to actually measure variations and characterize the refractive properties of air with the temperature profile very well. And you've mentioned Andrew
Thomas Young. He specifically says we don't fully
Young.
understand atmosphere refraction at all.
No, but we've got a good handle on it, right? There's
That's
things
not
to
what
be
he
learned.
says. No, that's not what he says.
So, okay then. So taking the other approach, right? You guys often talk about science and the experimental process, right?
Well, real fast, do you think we can go
before
through the 3 questions and then you can make your point?
What are the 3 questions?
Okay. Here are the
Yes,
3
the
questions.
horizon is an apparent location.
Do we ever see the actual curvature of the Earth?
Probably
When?
in some scenarios.
Can you name them?
If you're above the surface of the Earth a little bit further than the water and the temperature conditions and the atmospheric conditions are correct, I think you would actually see the actual curvature. You're talking about curvature away from you here?
The actual curvature of the Earth.
So what do you mean by seeing curvature?
Seeing the actual curvature of the Earth, right? Like if I'm on a sphere, the horizon, there should be a geometric horizon, a physical, tangible place blocking things in the distance. I'm asking, can we ever see the actual curvature of the Earth?
To actually observe the curvature as a thing, you would have to be quite high up off the surface. Otherwise, you'd be looking for indicators of curvature, like the apparent position of the horizon, being equal distance and things, or equal declination. So if I am looking at the horizon with a theodolite, for example, and say I'm at 2,000 feet elevation, I'll get something like a 0.5 degree of declination between my horizontal and the horizon. And as I pan the theodolite around, that angle of declination will be constant all the way, which is not what you expect to see on a flat Earth. That the first of all, the angle would be different.
You notice what you guys
Secondly,
always do, man? You divert to what you claim should or shouldn't happen on a flat Earth, but I asked a pretty simple question, right?
Well, that's true. Yeah, because you guys actually won't produce a working model of the flat Earth. And
You're
very reluctant to
spiraling,
claim
bro.
anything, right?
It's a simple question, man. Do we ever see the actual location of the alleged curvature of the Earth?
What do you mean? No, the curvature doesn't have a location. The curvature is continuous.
No, the curvature, as in seeing it, would be the geometric horizon. It definitely does have a physical location in relation to your height above the sphere. Yes, basic
So
geometry.
you're wanting to asking the question: where can we ever see the geometric horizon?
Yeah, or the curve of the Earth. Yeah.
No, the curve of the Earth and the geometric horizon are different things. Curve of the Earth.
What causes the geometric horizon?
The curve causes the geometric horizon, but the geometric horizon is not the curve.
Why is it not? What is it? What geometry
geometric
is it?
horizon is the tangent between you and the curve.
So if I saw the geometric horizon, I wouldn't be seeing the curve of the Earth.
No, you're seeing the horizon.
Yeah, the horizon would be the curve of the Earth blocking things in the distance, right?
Well, I see what you're saying. Yes, it is the curve of the Earth blocking the distance, but the horizon is not the curve. The horizon is the consequence of the curve.
Do we ever see the actual location of the curvature of the Earth?
The actual location of the horizon,
which is the curvature of the Earth in your paradigm, right? It's very simple.
So if you want to see the actual point of tangency between you and the curve, you need to be in a situation where there is no optical interference, right?
Does that ever happen?
Can't have any. It happens quite reliably once you get away from the surface a little bit. So there's very low levels of refraction once you get higher. But there will always be some, right?
No, that's not what
because the atmosphere is always present.
Your model claims that even at really high altitudes, you can reliably assume 7/6R refraction.
Yeah, so that's probably
15 to 20%
the closest we'll get to observing the true. Yeah, unless you get out to going to outer space, obviously. But
that's a 15 to 20% increase in the size of the
alleged but it's
globe.
Consistent, right?
Yeah. If the globe was real, and then I look at the horizon, and it's 15 to 20% further away than the globe geometrically predicts, would I be seeing the actual location of the curvature of the Earth?
If you're still getting in that range where you're getting the 7/6 thing, you're still only seeing the apparent horizon. And I guess technically any time you see the horizon, it's going to be apparent, right?
Yeah, by definition.
I'm not sure at what point the 7/6 thing becomes incorrect.
Okay, so then the answer is no. The answer is no. We never see the actual curvature of the Earth. We never see the actual location of the assumed curvature of the Earth, which is geometric, physical, tangible.
I'll give it a qualified no.
Well, can you provide us with any actual evidence of it? If not, then it's just it's called special pleading.
I'll have to find some evidence to see what the impacts of refraction are with altitude. I'm pretty sure 7/6 doesn't apply at high altitudes.
Why would it not if we're looking down through all the vertical density gradient all the way down to the
land? So as you look down more vertically through the gradient, the refractive properties change.
Can you look straight down and see the horizon?
No, but the angle changes, right? So if you and straight down is a good example. So if you look straight up, right, there's zero impact of refraction essentially. It's not bending light. It might cause it to deviate, stars to twinkle and stuff like that, but it's not actually causing any deviation. So somewhere between directly down and horizontal, there'll be a point where, for all practical purposes, there's no impact of refraction.
I designed these questions to be so incredibly straightforward and simple, and it's still just it's very convoluted, and you're dancing around. It's not a loaded question. It's not a loaded question.
Actually,
how?
Yeah. Well, so you've said, do you ever see the actual curvature of the Earth? And the answer is, yes, you probably can.
When?
From high altitude.
Okay, give us an example.
Yeah, and that's what I've said. I'd have to qualify that I know that with altitude the refraction changes, so the 7/6 thing gets smaller and smaller, but I don't have anything at hand to actually prove it, right?
All right, look, I'm gonna put my Glover glasses on, and I'll still man it for you to save us some time. So I'm going to pop over on the full screen, and then I'll share it on Discord. Okay, and then we'll just save us some time. Here's the still man. So the questions are: is the horizon an apparent location? Yes, of course it is. It's where the sky appears to meet the ground. Of course, appearance by definition is apparent. Okay, cool. Do we ever see the actual curvature of the Earth? Well, no, we never see the actual physical location of the curvature of the Earth because we live on the Earth where there's always an atmos. And even if you get to higher altitude where there's less refraction, there's still refraction because there's always a vertical density gradient and a vertical temperature gradient, and we're always looking through the atmos that's causing optical distortion. Therefore, there is never a position in which you would see the actual physical tangible location of Earth curvature because there is always atmosphere that is going to affect it and displace the horizon optically. Even if you get to high altitudes and you could say that reliably it's 7/6R or just standard refraction, that's still a 15% to 20% deviation from the actual physical location. So the answer is no, of course we don't ever see the actual physical location of Earth curvature because there is always an atmosphere. All right, cool. I'm glad we got that covered. So you agree that's actually a stillman. That's a very thorough stillman.
Well, probably, yeah. But like any of these things, right, the devil is in the detail in terms of when does 7/6 stop flying?
I don't know. It's your claim.
No,
It's a category error anyway.
If we're at 32,000 kilometers, right, 7/6R is not going to be a thing.
I don't
Would
know
you agree
anything.
on that?
I don't know anything about 32,000 kilometers, man. I can't go verify that whatsoever.
Yeah, well, same. Yeah. I'm just assuming that that's that distance, that the atmosphere has zero impact, right?
I wouldn't think so, no,
The
because
geostationary distance.
no, the higher we go, the more horizontally we're going to be looking out. So
Yeah,
we're
and
going
the
to look
relatively
through.
thinner the altitude is, atmosphere is going to be.
You're going to be looking through a greater
But somewhere in
distance of
between,
atmos.
we go from 0 to 7/6, right, under normal conditions.
If the Earth is a ball and I go to high altitude and I look at the horizon and I see the horizon, what am I looking at? What is the horizon on a ball?
So what was the altitude again, you said?
Doesn't matter. Just
High
say
altitude.
really high altitude. Yeah.
Well, it does matter a little bit because so at low altitudes, we see some potentially large refraction level. So the apparent horizon is truly an apparent horizon.
If I go in,
We might
if
be
I
able to
go,
work out what a minimum is, right?
if the Earth
Then
is a
at
globe,
altitude, the refraction will vary.
if the Earth is a globe and I go to really high altitude and I look out at the horizon, in the globe paradigm, when I see the horizon, what would I be looking at?
You'd be looking at the apparent horizon.
Okay, you just invoked some scenario in which it's the actual horizon. And so therefore, in the globe paradigm, I would be looking at the ground. And even if you claim it's apparent, which you have to, then we're looking at the apparent location of the ground, right? Because on a globe, the horizon is the grounds, blocking things in the distance. So my point there, which was a simple question, the point of the question was you're still looking down at the ground, which means you're looking through a ton of atmos, even if you're at higher altitude. And if you go higher and can see further, you're looking through an even greater distance. Yes, you being at higher altitude will decrease the amount of refraction, right? Because majority of your viewing angle is going to go through a much less dense atmos. This is just your paradigm.
At a different angle. Yeah.
But there's still refraction. Okay. So they tell
There'll
us
still
that.
be refraction. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
So it will be the apparent location. The horizon is always apparent.
Yeah. For all practical purposes, it's always going to be the apparent horizon, right? That everything we're looking through is involving the atmosphere.
Cool. So the first question is the horizon an apparent location? The answer is yes, which that automatically answers the second question anyway, which is, do we ever see the actual curvature of the Earth, the actual location of the curvature of the Earth? Well, since the answer to number one is that the horizon is always apparent, the answer to number two is obviously no. We do not see.
Yeah, I think Mal 2 is a malformed question, actually, number 2.
The only thing I would change about number 2 is add location in the question. Okay, so do we ever see the actual curvature of the Earth? The answer is no. Mandatory based on the first question. So then the third question.
The location of the horizon.
That's what the curvature, dude. That's what the curvature of the Earth is on a globe.
No. The horizon is the tangent to the curve, right?
Let me ask you a question. Would you ever see the curvature? Would you ever see the curvature of the Earth on a globe and it not be the horizon?
Can you see other effects of curvature that aren't the horizon?
No, I said, would you ever see the curvature of the Earth on a globe and it not be the horizon? The answer is obviously no. The answer is no, bro.
The curvature, I think we've got different definitions of curvature, right? So for me, the curvature is the space, and the horizon is the visual intersection of that curvature with my line of sight. So the curvature is the physical shape of the Earth.
Okay, can you give me a scenario in which I would be seeing the curvature of the Earth and it wouldn't be the horizon?
Or I can I give you a scenario where I can see the horizon and it's not the curvature of the Earth? Is that what you're asking?
That's what I asked, yeah.
Yeah, no, you had them the other way around. It's quite different.
Okay. Can we define horizon? Can you define horizon?
See the horizon. So the black swan that gets floated around with the oil rigs is a good example of where you can see the horizon and it's not caused by the curvature of the Earth.
Hey, man. Well, that's a problem for you, first of all, because the horizon is always, in your paradigm, the horizon is always caused by the curvature of the Earth. So can we define horizon?
No, the geometric horizon is always caused by the curvature of the Earth. The apparent horizon is always caused by the optical environment that we're observing the geometric horizon under.
Bro. The apparent horizon is an optical displacement of the geometric horizon in your paradigm.
Yes.
We are seeing the geometric horizon, just not in its actual location. That is your claim. Okay. So
not necessarily.
Yeah, necessarily.
In the black swan, you can't even see where the geometric horizon is because it's so distorted.
You can never see where it is. Can you define horizon?
So horizon's that visual intersection where the tangent between you and the surface of the Earth appears to be.
The horizon is where the sky appears to meet the ground.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the scenario. If you're looking at a geometric definition or a visual perception definition, it's where the sky and the ground appear to meet.
No, it doesn't depend on anything. This is just what the definition is. So we're gonna.
Yeah. But if we're talking about the horizon in the context of the shape of the Earth, there are two meanings we need to deal with, right? So one is what is the visual definition of horizon, and what is the geometric / physical interpretation of the horizon in terms of in terms of what we see.
Okay, I got it pulled up for everyone. Horizon. The line at which...
We don't need a dictionary definition.
Well, apparently we do. Apparently we do.
I can show you a dictionary.
Do you know what the Socratic method is? Do you know what the Socratic method is?
Socratic method rings a bell, but I'll say no just to.
Okay, it's where people come to understand the terms to mean the same thing, so they can then have productive conversation. If we are having a conversation,
cool, that's good.
Right? So, and do you know what definition means? Definition is the antithesis of malleable or changing. It's defined. It has definition, right? It isn't malleable. Okay, so the definition of horizon, which the word horizon comes from the Greek word meaning horizontal or boundary. Okay, the word horizon has a definition. It depicts a real phenomena and denotes a real phenomena observed on Earth. That phenomena is where the sky appears to meet the ground, the line at which the Earth's surface and the sky appear to meet. Okay, now this is the point. If that is what a horizon is by definition, if you are on a globe Earth, any time that you were to see this curvature of Earth, it would be the horizon, right? Because that's what you claim the Earth is, a curving sphere. The ground is supposedly curving because of its sphericity. So if you ever see the sky blocked out by the ground on a globe Earth, that would be the curvature of the Earth. All right. So the answer to my question is no. I said, can you give me a scenario in which you could ever see the curve of the Earth and it not be the horizon? The answer is no. The only time you could even claim to see curve of Earth is horizon. Even if you want to take, let's say you go out into space and you believe these CGI composite nonsense pictures that were given. Let's say you believe that. When you get up higher, say in the ISS, and you look out and you see the supposed curve of the Earth, right? That's a horizon. It's where the ground's appearing to meet the sky, the quote unquote space, right? Above it. So even when you go to the ISS and you believe that footage, which is clearly probably high altitude footage with the fisheye, whatever, let's claim it's real for a second. In your paradigm, when you see the curvature of Earth in those images, that's a horizon. Okay? So.
Yeah. The horizon is caused by the curvature of the Earth. That's right. You interpret that as curvature when you see the horizon.
So can we ever see the actual curvature of Earth?
We can. So when you get up high enough, you can actually see like a full circle of the horizon around you, and it is a circle. And you would be able to determine it as being a circle, not just something appearing into infinity.
Well,
yeah.
The implication being that's not what would happen on a flat Earth or something?
Yeah, because if you get up on a flat Earth, my expectation of what you would see is there wouldn't be a crisp limit to your vision. It would blur off into infinity, right? You get that. Say you're at 5,000, let's say we're 5,000 kilometers above the surface of the Earth on a flat Earth. And the Earth was something on the order of 20, 30, 40,000 kilometers. You would see a large plane extending out in all directions. There would not be a sharp edge to it because the sharp edge is a result of curvature of the Earth.
All right, first of all, your still man of a flat Earth is the idea that we would see infinitely, and that was kind of the point.
Infinitely.
That's what you said. You used the word infinite. Okay. Well, that was kind of the point I made in the beginning of the show. What I've discovered is that people that think they know for sure flat Earth is wrong can't even still man the flat Earth, right? And this is a major problem. But before your other point gets lost, I also addressed that. You made the claim about how you wouldn't see a distinct line or cutoff, right? How did you phrase it?
Yep.
Okay. So what we see in reality is that there is not a distinct line or cutoff. That's literally what we see in reality. So are you now conceding that the Earth is flat?
So I heard you talk about zooming into the horizon, right? So we're zooming in to that layer and into the limits of our lens. But the crispness we see is at a macro scale. You wouldn't see the crispness at a macro scale on a flat Earth. That the light from the entire plane would potentially be able to reach you, or at the very least be able to blend in with the light on the same plane, right? So you'd be dealing with light from close, light in the distance, all the same kind of small angle away from you. And the overall scene of what you would see would be distinctly different to what you would see on a sphere. Kind of like what you see if you're standing on on a flat in the desert, just that sort of shimmering off. There's no clear horizon. That's kind of how I imagine that the optics of a flat Earth would appear. Whereas if you're at altitude, on a sphere, the curvature is giving you that sharp delineation in visibility.
Did you listen to the show?
I missed the beginning of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I probably heard similar things before. This is not a new argument, right? There's nothing new here
No,
today
it's like
from me or you.
It's like the basics. It's like the first part of flat Earth.
I have a brief
Yeah,
question
yeah.
when there's a second.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can go for it now. I'm just running out of time to talk anyway.
So this invoking like these unrealistically high altitudes, regardless of like the altitude that we invoke. Earlier, a comment was made in that go back and forth between you guys that if you were high up and you looked down, at some point you shouldn't see refraction. But in the same sentence, this comment was made that you'd be looking through all the changes in gradient from where you are down to the surface. But isn't refraction like specifically caused by the change in gradient? So if you were looking down through all the changes in gradient, wouldn't you like effectively be seeing refraction?
It's the angle to the gradient. It's the important thing. So the gradient is a vertical gradient. And when you look horizontally at angles through that gradient, that's what is allowing the light to curve over distance. If you come to the higher, more obtuse angles, the amount of space it's got to deviate is less to start with, but the amount of angular shift, I think, will be less as well. So the total amount of curvature you can get from those higher angles is less because of the angle of incidence that you're dealing with to the gradient.
Okay, do you see the video? I know it'll be kind of small because it's on my OBS. Do you see it?
Yes, I see that one. Yes.
You see that that's not a distinct line, it's a gradient.
Yeah, but it's relatively distinct, right? That the if you zoom right in, it's fuzzy, but the how can I describe this?
We've already moved the goalposts. Now it's just that it's relatively distinct.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to describe. It's hard for me to articulate how I imagine the flat Earth would look. That the so I'm actually sitting at the beach as we talk here, right? And I'm looking out at the horizon. I've got about 120 or 130 degrees of horizon. I'm about 6 or 8 meters above the sea. The sea temperature is cool. The air temperature is cool. There is no obvious refraction in the things I can see down the coastline or the small islands I can see out to sea. And as I scan across the horizon, it is very consistent. It feels, so this is not a measurement, obviously, it feels like it's at an equal distance.
Yeah, because you can only see so far in each direction, bro.
Yeah, but if out of the corner of my eye, if I was looking straight out to sea, I'd expect out of the corner of my eye, if the Earth was flat, or even if I pan my head, that as I look left and right, there should be no sense of fixed distance.
You find it telling that what you would expect and what every flat earther says is the case is different? Do you ever feel like maybe you're protecting yourself from truly examining and considering the flat Earth position? Or are you unaware that you're doing that?
Well, and somebody made this comment, and several times I've seen people say that it's been measured flat, but I've never seen a measurement of flatness. I've seen some measurements from my question, of curvature, right? And so you asked me about what I see and what I feel, and I feel that what I see is explained by the shape of the Earth and being a globe, and I've not seen anything concrete to convince me otherwise.
But I didn't ask you what you see and you feel, man. I said, do you realize that what you claim would happen on a flat Earth and what actual flat earthers say is different? So,
okay, so I misinterpreted that.
And what I said was, do you not ever feel like maybe you are preventing yourself from truly examining the other side and still manning it? Here's another video. What we see of the horizon is that it is a gradient. This is up very, very, very high. And now we're just seeing very far. And the horizon is always a blurry, fuzzy gradient. So when you said that that's what we'd expect on a flat Earth, that'd be a fuzzy, blurry gradient. And that on a globe, we'd have a distinct line. And then I started showing videos, and now all of a sudden it's, oh, well, it's relatively distinct. Actually, no, that's a huge wide span of blurry fuzzy gradient.
Yeah, it's actually the atmosphere we're looking at the edge of there, isn't it? So the interesting thing about those videos is that you spin right around, and you're so if you look right at the blurry edge, right, there's a point where things kind of remain in focus, and as that spins around, the angle and the distance to those things in focus would be very consistent. But my expectation that a flat plane, that the blurriness would kind of go on for longer, and yeah, it's a, and the way it changed with altitude would be distinctly different as well. So that's for me is the other tell, right? That the way the horizon moves with altitude is not consistent with a plane.
You mean like
The
how it
angle to the
rises?
horizon
How
with-
it rises with altitude, like we're watching right now.
The horizon,
Yeah, we're
drops with
watching.
altitude.
We're watching a drone go up right now, and the horizon's rising with us.
is it pointing horizontal or is it pointing at the horizon?
It's pointing straight out. Drones fly level. You can level your drone very easily.
Is the camera pointing at the horizon or is the camera pointing straight out all the time?
It's just pointing straight out, going
So what
up.
the camera is focusing on here is very important.
Do you know how drones work? Like, it just has a camera built into it, leveled. You have
Yeah.
a level drone. We're increasing altitude, and as we do that,
Yeah, how much of the altitude increasing there?
the fact that it's just a small amount just proves the point even more. The horizon is rising
Well-
with our altitude. So on the globe, you have to claim that the horizon is actually dropping down and away from us in all directions, but because of perspective, it looks like it slightly rises as well. That's again the still man, because I'm not new to this. I'm true to this, man. I've talked to the best globe Earth proponents for years.
Yeah, I'd say that drone is locked on the horizon. It doesn't.
Okay.
There's something that doesn't feel right about the way the image is panning as you go up there. That the sky's not moving to start with.
It doesn't feel right.
Yeah. It's either the way it's cropped or the angle. The fact that the horizon is not center of frame means that the camera is pointing downwards to start with.
What? This is the main point I want to make here. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if you've got a camera, right, and you take a picture of the horizon, if the horizon is at top of frame, your camera is pointing down. So that camera is not locked to horizontal.
Okay,
The
well, let me
camera is
ask you
pointing
this
down to
question
start
then.
with.
Let me ask you this question. If all the parameters that you think are important were met and we increased altitude and the horizon rose with us, then would you concede that the Earth was flat or what?
I don't know that I conceded that it was flat, but I'd certainly examine the evidence in detail. Yeah.
Have you ever been in a plane, man?
Yeah.
And you just failed to realize that the horizon rises with you?
No, I've actually done that little trick where you get your water level out and measure the dip.
The horizon
wife thought I was a bit of a-
rises with you, man, but you're also getting higher above the ground. It does. I'm talking about rising at all, right? On a globe, as soon as I increase altitude, it's just going to be further and further away from me, and I'm going to be seeing further, so it's going to be going. You're getting higher above the ground, so the ground is, of course, further below you, but is also optically rising. There's a difference in going all the way to eye level and rising towards eye level. And I'm just telling you that the still man of your position is that perspective makes it look like it's rising, but the fact that it's lower below eye level is because the Earth is curving.
The angle to the horizon is dropping. So the angle from horizontal or the angle from vertical down to the horizon is increasing with altitude, right? On a flat Earth, it won't increase because as you get higher, your convergence point just moves further away and the angle remains essentially the same. So the fact that if you go up in an aircraft and you get your little water level out, you can measure a distinct drop to the horizon that you can't do at sea level.
All right. Well, this is very simple stuff. The The horizon absolutely does rise with you. I encourage you to look at a plane. It'll be below your eye level, perceptibly, of course, because you're looking at where the ground appears to meet the sky.
It's measurably below your eye level.
Well, first of all, this comes back to the point. What is measurably? What is the horizon? Is there a distinct position of the horizon? Because every time I see a horizon, there's a fuzzy gradient, and when we look out over the ocean, for example, the boat looks like it's floating in the air. So where it looks like there's a horizon, actually that can't be the horizon because, of course, the boat is on the water. Yet the boat looks like it's floating above the line of water that we see. Right.
Yeah. So one of the relationships that happens almost measurable,
every time.
right?
That happens almost every time.
It is. Yeah. So if you, one of the things that is repeatably measurable is the dip to the horizon with elevation, particularly once you get above that initial refraction layer, that first few hundred meters. So in an aircraft, they've got very sophisticated artificial horizons, and they can show the angle to the horizon, and those things do accurately reflect the geometric relationship. So even if the apparent horizon is a bit fuzzy, the angle to the horizon does follow the geometric relationship.
The geometric relationship is linear in a plane. I literally just talked to an Air Force pilot. It's all linear. Everything about it uses it absolutely does. I looked at all of the actual equipment used. It uses a linear relationship.
What do you mean by linear in this particular case? What
opposed
relationship
to
is linear?
parabolic.
Yep. It uses a flat baseline, and then it uses a parallel horizontal extended from you, and then anything that deviates from that is all extended in a linear relationship. So like this idea
what
that
are you talking about? Sorry.
Nothing in a plane's assuming the curve of the Earth. So the claim otherwise is ridiculous. But this is the point that I want you to.
But an artificial horizon will allow you to measure the angle to the actual horizon.
What are you talking about? We can
measure the angle between.
We just painfully covered that we don't see the actual horizon. So what
you can measure the angle
to the actual horizon.
Yeah. So an aircraft that has an artificial horizon is able to measure the angle to the visible horizon.
Is it the visible and apparent one, or is it the actual physical one?
It's an apparent one, but the relationship between the altitude and the apparent horizon is consistent with the radius of the Earth.
Really? So is it refracted at all?
There's going to be refraction, of course.
And it's not consistent with
the precision, the amount of refraction when you're dealing with measuring a dip to the horizon like that from an aircraft is small compared to the scenario you're measuring. It's not like on the Earth where on surface, right?
How much is small?
I would think it'd be a very small fraction of a degree, an order of magnitude less than on the surface.
Okay, man. Look, I'm just gonna.
I'd have to get you some information on that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let you know that your side says that at high altitudes you can just safely assume standard refraction, which is 7/6R. But you said you had to go, and I just want to make sure we get through the 3 questions real fast. Let's just make sure we get to the final question and get your answer. So, the first question was: is the horizon apparent? You quickly said yes. The horizon is
the visible horizon is apparent. Yes,
it's an apparent location. I said, do we ever see the actual curvature of the Earth? That was a whole ordeal, but you ended up saying no. We never see the actual location of the curvature of the Earth. Then my final question is, if we never see the actual curvature of the Earth, then how would you know it was there in the first place?
Because we can measure most of the properties of the curvature.
What does that mean?
So, for example, we can know what refraction does under some specific conditions, right? And say, for example, when the refraction is, we can say that under temperature gradient X, that we can categorize the refraction very precisely, and that's how we can know what the relationship is between the apparent horizon and the real horizon.
So the answer is if we presuppose that it's there, but we just can't see it.
Presuppose what's there.
The curvature.
I don't know that you have to presuppose curvature. You just have to understand the refraction mechanisms.
Yeah. Presupposing it. Okay, let's simplify the questions. Can we ever see the actual physical geometric horizon?
No.
Okay, if we can never see the
Different
actual
space.
physical geometric horizon, then how do you know it's there?
Because we understand the physics of light and optics of the air.
Okay, so the physics of the air proves that there is a physical geometric horizon there?
The physics of the air plus the geometry of the earth.
There you go. You have to assume
And the measurements we make all
it's there.
line up.
You have to assume it's there. That is the answer. You have to assume it's there. And then when you assume it's there, you're like, okay, well, this is the physical geometric horizon's location based on my height. Say I'm 1 foot above the earth. And the physical geometric horizon's at 1.22 miles away. If I see the horizon at 4 miles away, I can then do the math to account for the difference in the apparent location and the assumed physical actual location and say there must be this much refraction causing that optical displacement. If you can never see the actual physical geometric horizon of the assumed curvature of Earth, then when I say, well, then how would you know it was there in the first place? The only answer is, well, if we assume it's there, this is how we would explain us not seeing it where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So you mean by assume, you mean if we have a hypothesis about the shape of the Earth and the nature of optics, we might be able to create a test, see whether our hypothesis is true or not, right?
That's no, that's not what you do. You just assume it's there. Can you explain to me where you did it? Okay, explain to me where you did a test looking at the physics of air and you accounted for the effects on light of the air over a plane and then compared it to a globe. You didn't. That's not what we do. In your paradigm, what you do is you use the actual R value to tell you how much it's refracted. It's called standard refraction. It's terrestrial
Well, people
refraction.
have done that, others.
It's 7/6 R. And so you know what the R stands for, right?
Yeah. So people have done that, right? I haven't done it personally, but people have done the experiments and the analysis and been able to rule out a planar Earth as an option based on the hypothesis and the physics. Guys that deal with radar and things like that know these things very well.
What radar? What radar?
Yeah.
Are you aware that the radar horizon? You know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware that the radar horizon is at a minimum further away than the assumed geometric horizon of a globe?
Yeah. So radar has some different propagation characteristics, and it's different wavelength, obviously, of light. But in general, the same principle applies, right? That the radar range is limited by the geometric horizon.
How is it limited by it if it goes further than it?
So it depends on what band of radar you're dealing with.
Name one that doesn't.
And so if you are dealing with most marine radars, like you would see on small craft and things like that, their range is typically limited by the horizon, not the radar power.
Okay. That's the way it always is because we live on a plane. There is no geometric limitation of a sphere when it comes to radar. We have something called the radar horizon. It is consistently and reliably further away than the geometric horizon would be on a globe. And that goes for all wavelengths, all frequencies, all radar, actually all light. That's why standard refraction is 7/6R. It's a 15 to 20% increase in the assumed R value. Now, what's even worse is that's just the bare minimum. And oftentimes radar goes much further than that. And the reason is exactly what you just brought up, which is attenuation, obstruction, interference. This is what messes with the signal and determines how far it's going to go. For example, higher frequencies have a higher rate of attenuation. So microwaves attenuate much faster than lower frequency radio waves. So they get absorbed into, say, the water in the air much faster. That is why.
Yeah.
That's why they don't go infinitely, right? But the point is pretty simple. Radar doesn't prove a geometric horizon. It does the opposite. The radar horizon is consistently and reliably further away than the geometric horizon. So we still have the same question on the table. Use radar if you want to. Same idea, right? If you never have the radar blocked at a reliable, consistent distance away from you based on the assumed geometric horizon, then how did you know it was there in the first place?
Yeah. Assuming and hypothesizing, I think I feel they're two different things. But
do you realize the point that's being made, which is that to claim the Earth's a globe and invoke the horizon whatsoever requires the assumption that the physical curvature is there, that you just can never see it or detect it, even with radar. You just have to assume it's there and then start doing the math to account for the difference in where it should be and where the evidence actually suggests it would be. So we have the stronger position from the jump, right? Because you're claiming that something's there.
Except you've never
just
even
can't see.
measured flatness. That's the problem, though. That's the catch-22, right? You can't measure flatness
Can I ask you
for the
something,
same
Gazza,
reasons
real
we
quick?
can't measure the curvature.
When you go up in a plane, do you observe linear or parabolic deviation when you're looking at the horizon? Is it a linear deviation or a parabolic deviation when you're looking at the horizon?
Don't remember the mathematical relationship off the top of my head. It'd be a parabolic one, I imagine. It'd be the same as the 1.22 square root of the observer height thing, wouldn't it? Probably.
But it's not. Are you open to, like, if the Earth were a plane, would you want to know?
Highly surprised. Yeah, if someone could provide evidence of it, a measurement showing it was flat, that would be really an interesting thing for me.
You would want to know.
An eye opener.
Would you want to know?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd want to know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you should, in order, just say in this hypothetical world that we're going to theorize that hypothetically the Earth could be a plane. The only way that you would be able to discover if that were the case would be to step back, to suspend belief, suspend presupposition, and then re-examine all of the evidence, right? And we're going to start with the horizon, because we were told the way you know the Earth's a globe is you can go out and watch boats disappear behind the horizon, and that's the boats disappearing behind the curve of the Earth. We were all told that at a young age, right? What's his name? The actor that people act like is a scientist famously did a video explaining it. It was rolled in my classroom. Bill Nye. Big Think with Michelle Thaler from NASA and Neil deGrasse Tyson. They all said the same thing. This is the basic claim. But what happened was we went and found out that the boat will look like it disappears completely, and then I can pull my camera out and see the boat again. To immediately say, but eventually you can't see the boat, is just moving the goalposts. What that proves is the claim that when you see the boat disappear, it's proof that the Earth is a ball is patently incorrect, right? That's just an example of how we have to step back, suspend belief, and presupposition and re-examine the evidence. The boat does appear to disappear. I can pull binoculars out and see the boat again. It'll disappear again. Then I can pull out my P1000 and see the boat again. I can actually zoom out. The boat looks like it's gone. I can then
You're talking
zoom
about
in.
bottom-up obstruction here, right?
Yes. Bottom-up
Of
obstruction.
a ship or a boat, right?
Either one.
I've watched bulk carriers go past here where I'm sitting right now, and all I can see are the cranes on the top.
We just watched a
Cranes are
video
like
where
40.
we just watched a video where zoomed out, you can't see the ship. It's a big ship. You can't see the ship at all. And when you zoom in, you
Now,
can
these
see
are
the
ships I
ship.
can see with my naked eye.
Okay, but you understand my point.
They're
That
big
eventually,
enough that I can see the top half with my naked eye.
you know, eventually
The
the
bottom
ship
half
gets
is
so
not there.
far. You agree the ship eventually gets so far you can't see it with your naked eye.
Yeah, that's another thing altogether. If you can't see it at all, different kettle of fish, right?
That's
These
what
are
I'm
the
trying
ship. So I can see ships going past here that are about 10 miles offshore, and I can see their cranes, 40-meter cranes or something like that, or 20-meter cranes on top of the deck, but I cannot see any of the deck at all. Crane's perfectly clear.
Okay, I'm about to show the video again to the audience, and you should be able to see it as well. Where
This is the one that was on earlier of the
yeah, we're literally about to see.
one with the refracted waterline. So lots of inversions and stretching and things like that.
Well, we're just going to see that we can see the ship.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, but you understand that that is in fact that is a ship. That's not a boat, right?
Yep.
Okay, and so we see the boat here.
Yep.
But we're
So the
going to
boat,
zoom
the bottom of the
out.
boat there is already well above the horizon, right?
Okay.
The whole superstructure is stretched.
The boat can't be above a physical horizon because it's on top of it, right? So if the water is actually the curvature of Earth, then that's where the boat has to be. So what that proves is what looks like,
So this pink line is the bottom of the hull of the boat, isn't it?
yes, but look how much higher it is above
Yep.
what the water is. Now, if we took the boat away,
Yeah,
someone
because
would
there's
come,
massive refraction.
no, but you act like that's just a thing that sometimes gets turned off. That's not the case though, because
It does.
I've made dozens of observations.
Or it gets turned right down, right? Turns right down to almost nothing, to 7/6 star,
No,
right?
they're almost 7/6 stars. Not almost nothing. That's 15 to 20%.
Really?
But this is the
Yeah,
actual.
but it's
fact.
measurable.
Listen to the point, bro. If we pulled this boat out of the video, someone would come present it as evidence of Earth curvature, and they would say the curve of the Earth is where you see that water line, and then they would claim it's distinct and can only happen on a globe. But then what we see in reality is no. Where we see the water is not where the water is at all, right? The boat's actually floating in midair, and that's a big ship, okay? And when we zoom out of that ship, what are we going to see? When we zoom out of the ship, we see that the boat begins to disappear. The point is that if we're zoomed all the way out, we can't see the ship. The claim is that it's because it's behind the curve of the Earth. That is provably not true, right? Because we can see it again. So you agree that there's an effect that happens that's merely due to perspective that causes that boat to appear to not be there or appear to be obstructed, when in reality it is there. Right now, where's the boat now?
No.
Right? Where's the boat?
Zooming
now?
in doesn't change the geometry of the world, right?
That isn't the point.
The boat is physically too small to see in this image, right? So you zoom in and until you can see the boat.
Okay, so then you agree the boat's not behind the curvature of the Earth.
In this case, you can't tell anything much about where the boat is because of that refraction that's going on.
What we can tell,
you haven't controlled for variables there.
What we can tell for sure is that the reason we can't see the boat is not because of physical Earth curvature. Okay, and we also, this is another point here. Do you agree that if I zoom in on this horizon, we're going to see a fuzzy gradient? Do you agree that actually?
Oh yeah, because you're looking at individual waves, right? Going up and down.
Yeah, which is
blurring,
another reason that you see things disappear from the bottom up because of waves in the foreground. But what I'm pointing out here is, you agree that half the horizon is invisible here.
Half the horizon is invisible.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, where the physical location of the water is is invisible. In your paradigm, there's an actual physical geometric horizon. We, of course, understand that there is only an apparent horizon, that's a redundant term. What I'm saying is, in your paradigm, where it's a physical location, you agree that half of it's invisible here. The boat looks like it's floating in the air. We know that the boat is not floating in the air. It's on the water, yet the water looks like it's down below it. So therefore, there's a huge span that the actual water is that we cannot see. This proves that not only is the horizon optical, it's a range. It's this area, this vertical area, right? Where things begin to blend together and converge together. If we zoomed in on it, we would see a fuzzy gradient above that water blending into the sky. That's what you said we would see if the Earth was flat. So I'm not understanding why are you not applying your own standard to what you said? That's what I don't understand.
Because this video is not, there's clearly very high levels of optical effects going on, right? So if you want to measure something, you need to control for variables. If you're trying to measure the shape of the Earth or deduce the shape of the Earth from this video, you need to make sure that you've controlled or understood what is going on. And in that particular scenario, we don't have control over the optics, that the ship is distorted, so we're clearly not seeing the ship as it is in real life, which means that we can no longer trust the image to represent the true shape of the geometry underneath.
Okay, I didn't claim anything about that. I'm actually making the point that you can never invoke the horizon to claim that the Earth is curved or make a geometric claim about it, because the horizon is always optical. It's always apparent. It never matches the alleged assumed actual location of physical curvature. You admit that the horizon is apparent. You admit that we never see the actual location of the assumed curvature of the Earth. I then ask you, well, then how do you know it's there? And your answer was a fancy way of saying we have to assume it's there. And if we assume it's there, then we can apply different ad hoc explanations as to why it isn't where it's supposed to be. Okay, so it's a very simple discussion. We were lied to. We were told one thing about boats disappearing over the curve of the Earth, and how when we look out, it's just the curvature of the Earth. That's the horizon. That's not what it is, though. And just to recap the whole point, the conversation started with boats disappear over the curve of the Earth. That proves the Earth's a ball. We went out and said, no, we can zoom them back in. So the claim that the only way a boat disappears is because of the curvature of the Earth is a lie. What did they do? They revised the claim to say, well, no, stupid flirt. What we're talking about is bottom-up obstruction. We then showed that there's multiple ways to explain that, including waves in the foreground, that the angle of view is smaller, so the angle from the bottom of the boat to the horizon is smaller than the top of the boat. We had proved that the horizon is apparent. So then they moved the goalpost again. They said, well, yeah, we never see the actual curvature of the Earth after gaslighting us for 2 years. We never see the actual curvature of the Earth. We only see the apparent location because of atmosphere, right? So that's where we get to right now. Then they're like, but the only way you could have the horizon is if there was a geometric horizon. The antecedent for the apparent horizon is a geometric horizon, implying that there is no horizon on a flat Earth. We then say, okay, if there's no horizon on a flat Earth, would it be all sky or all ground? They then move the goalpost again. No, this is well documented. This is what happened.
Not what.
This is still being said.
You keep using the word horizon and curvature interchangeably, right? So when you talk about horizon, you need to say apparent horizon, right? That's uniform between a globe and a flat Earth. The apparent horizon is where the sky and the ground appear to meet.
No, I just explained.
Flat Earth, the apparent horizon is the physical horizon.
I'm not going to go back through that. Like, the audience can decide. We went through that painfully. I just pointed out that we were told that boats go over the curve of the
painful,
Earth.
Right? Isn't
we were told that the boats disappear behind the horizon because they're going beyond the curve of the Earth. That's what we were told. That is still the claim. You just agreed to it. We had to go painfully through how it is, and it is the horizon is because of a curvature of the Earth. My point is, they said, okay, there is no horizon on a flat Earth. Do you agree with that claim? Because I'm not putting the claim on you. I'm saying that's what happened. And the vast majority of them now say that. Why do they say that? Because they've trapped themselves, and first they claim there's a physical, actual geometric horizon that tangibly obstructs things in the distance. We disproved that. They moved the goalpost to, oh, well, no, we only ever see the apparent horizon. We never see the actual curvature of the Earth, but that's because there's an atmosphere. We say, okay, well, welcome to flat Earth. That's what we say. The horizon is merely apparent. It's optical. It moves around, so where the sky appears to meet the ground is a convergence point due to perspective and atmospheric effects. They then had to move the goalpost again to find a way to claim that it was exclusive to the globe. They said, okay, but you wouldn't have a horizon on a flat Earth at all. And the only way you could have the apparent horizon is to have a geometric horizon. We then refuted that with simple logic, saying, okay, if there would be no horizon on a flat Earth, then if it's where the sky appears to meet the ground, would it be all sky or all ground on a flat Earth? Then they moved the goalpost again, and they said, oh, well, no, there would be a horizon. We don't mean there wouldn't be a horizon, yet they all keep repeating it, by the way. We don't mean there literally wouldn't be a horizon, but it wouldn't be a distinct line. It would be a fuzzy gradient. So do we agree? Is that what you think?
It would look different. I can't quite put it into words how a flat Earth would look different to the globe, particularly at low levels. They'd be almost indistinguishable, right? But standing at the beach here like I am now, I'd imagine that there'd be something not the same. That sharpness would not be there.
Can we
move on?
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what I'm going to do to wrap up this real fast is I'm going to play this video. You're welcome to stay, but I think this has become painfully redundant, respectfully. I want to play this video because this sums up the whole point. And let me give you guys the backstory of this conversation. So there was these people on X talking about how there would be no horizon on fire, stupid flirt, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, that's one of the most asinine claims I've ever heard. Obviously, there would be a horizon on flat Earth. Would it be all sky or ground? Whatever. They don't answer, but then I saw that they had hosted a space, so I jumped in because I saw the guy that was saying that. And I asked if there was a horizon on flat Earth. A couple seconds at the beginning of it is cut off here. But we'll watch this video, and this will go to show you exactly what the problem is. Splatter, you're either hot micing or just wait a second, please. So this is just a 5-minute video. I think it's pretty funny. So I'll kind of recap the whole thing because I feel like I'm on repeat, and then we can actually progress the conversation into any other topics that anyone wants to talk about. So let me play this video. It should work for everyone. I think you guys are seeing it. Yeah. Okay. So let's watch this. This kind of summarizes what we're still dealing with.
Flat Earth can't answer basic questions is the title of the room.
Oh my God, you people are clowns. What is people are clowns?
Are these measurements?
And you're a grown man, right? You're a grown man. You have impulse control. You're going to interrupt me right now.
All right, that sounds super toxic. Let me just give the backstory here. That was kind of toxic, but I had been interrupted literally 30 times and berated, insulted, and muted like literally 30 times at that point. So I actually hate to even hear it, but that's what happened. But anyway.
How do you navigate on the oceans in a flat world? Your model. You just get on the ocean in a flat Earth and you're just lost?
Dude,
That's pretty funny, dude. That's pretty funny.
You're freaking out. That's why you keep interrupting me.
You can't. No, you
Piper, you just got completely embarrassed. Why would you even have the audacity to come off mute? How do we measure the distances in the southern oceans?
It's the same way you do it on land.
It would be a gradient. Have you ever seen the Piper?
Wait, what would be a gradient?
What would be a gradient? The transition from the sky to the ocean.
Where they appear to meet?
Yeah.
Oh, the horizon. Okay. Yeah.
It wouldn't be a sharp line. So Witsit, do you understand the Witsit? You can keep laughing and all, but you just kind of showing that you don't understand the question.
Would there be a horizon on the flat Earth?
When you got a gradient,
they can't answer basic questions. Irony. You admitted it'd be a fuzzy gradient on a flat Earth after initially you guys say there wouldn't be one. Now we admit there would be one, and we admit that what we see actually is a fuzzy gradient. You tried to
I don't think that it would be the same fuzzy gradient, honestly.
Okay, but now the whole claim has been revised. So yeah, we do see a fuzzy gradient in reality. There would be a horizon on a flat Earth. I think it would be different though. In a plane, for example, look out of a plane window with your naked.
We're not talking. No, we're talking about.
Wow,
just keep it to what? No, just keep it to the ocean. Because there's a color contrast.
There you go. Let's give him a round of applause.
Tell me why there's a line, though.
Just
Can I get 2 words? Then stop interrupting me. Just
talk about the horizon.
I was trying to. Just let me finish. Just provide the explanation, Witsit, even though we're incessantly interrupting. Just provide the explanation, Witsit. Listened, you would know I wasn't changing the subjects.
I don't want to go up in a plane. Tell me why.
Stop interrupting me. You're a clown, dude. This is how you know the globe Earth is so solid.
I don't care if it's a stupid question. I don't care if it's a stupid question. I'm not worried about non sequiturs. I can't.
Yeah, I just want to point out, if you see in the video, you see showing the plane footage, which is what I keep talking about. You see it's clearly a huge vertical area where there's like a fuzzy gradient. I forgot this was so toxic. We'll play a couple more minutes with.
Privately explore the Earth.
We have full access to the equator, dude. There's nothing.
But we don't have full access beyond that to know if.
Okay, I think here is where he actually summarizes. He summarizes it, and it's pretty funny. And I do want to make this point. I think this point's important.
Salad Witsit is now upset about a word.
Can you name one thing I've ever said that was word salad? Name one specific thing.
Everything?
I'm not running from nothing, Witsit. I can hang around for a few more minutes. I'm not running from you.
Yeah, it's really coincidental timing.
Oh, he ran.
How is it that I'm a Navy vet and all of a sudden I'm a navigator? Who the hell threw me under that bus? I'm not a navigator. Thank you for that, whoever did that.
This would happen on the clearest of clear days on a flat Earth, because air has something in it always, and even very clear air would turn a sharp horizon into a blurry one. So even on a very clear day
On a flat Earth,
we would have blurry horizons. Question?
Okay, that's what I wanted to get in. Sorry, I forgot that was so toxic. And guys, just forgive me. I shouldn't have got so upset. If you listen to the whole thing, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you even last that long. Okay, but you guys see the point there. We can wrap up the conversation there. Like, this is what the conversation boils down to. That's kind of what the other guy was just about to say, which is, well, I think it would be different though. Like, yeah, sure, we always see a fuzzy gradient. So it goes from like, there would be no horizon on a flat Earth to, well, it wouldn't be a distinct line, it'd be a fuzzy gradient. Then you say, well, that's what we always see. Oh, but I think it would be like a different fuzzy gradient. Okay, so long story short, the current 2024 best position that the globe Earth has is that the horizon we observe in reality is always apparent. We never see the actual assumed curvature of the Earth, and that the horizon we see is always a fuzzy gradient, which is exactly what we would see on a flat Earth. That is the state of affairs that we're in. So we don't have to beat this into the ground anymore. All right, does anyone want to bring up another topic or anything? I'm going to check out the donations as well, guys. Don't worry. I feel like that kind of killed the vibe because that was so toxic. Sorry. Let's move. All right.
Yeah, I still want to know a linear change in the horizon line versus a parabolic change in the horizon line when you're going up in a plane. Like, I don't think there's no way you can dispute it. There's a linear change in the horizon line when you're in a plane. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, like when I get on planes now, I pay like really close attention. The horizon objectively rises with you. Like, it comes up with you from the runway up. It rises up. It's all horizontal. You can see really far out in the distance. You'll see that say a city skyline will be lifted up in the air, right? Like, it'll be higher. It'll start looking like it's converging up, and you'll see a horizontal baseline. The ground rises with you in a plane, like, just undeniably, right? I guess what now I'm trying to figure out is like, well, what are they claiming would be different if the Earth was flat? What would we see differently when it comes to the horizon? Basically, they're just conceding that what we see is exactly what we would see on a flat Earth now. Yeah?
100%.
Crazy. I think it's pretty crazy. I think it's important to occasionally revisit this and let people know that are new to the subject, like the progression of the conversation and how much they've moved the goalposts, right? Because it gets lost in the sauce. So like we talked about it so many times. We're like, oh man, let's talk about something else. And the people that are new to it, they don't know. They just hear the most recent rhetoric from the globe earthers, right? And they think that's always been the case. No. That's like a 10 times revised position to save the globe. Because the more we do observations, the more we break down the empirical evidence, the more the globe has to change, adapt, and become more and more malleable to try to keep it alive. So, anyway.
Yeah, I think it's like it's a losing effort when they're trying to defend, like, oh, boats go over the horizon. Obviously, that's been disproved, and holding on to that, it makes it look a lot worse. Like they should be like, I imagine it like a battleground, like a war. And if you lost that battle, then you got to retreat and go to your next thing, and that's like, I'm wondering what is the next thing they're going to hold on to, because clearly we can see too far. Like, ships going over the horizon is done.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's so crazy because the simple part is you have the burden of proof to prove that there's a physical, actual, tangible, geometric horizon. And like using many different synonyms is not words out. It's just to avoid any confusion. It's to ensure clarity, right? So the claim is that there's a physical, actual, tangible, geometric horizon that's blocking things in the distance. But what we see, and all that we see, the only thing we see, is that the horizon's apparent, it's optical, it fluctuates. The question is, well, then how do you know that there is an actual physical geometric horizon there in the first place? The only answer is, well, if we presuppose it and then make mathematical ad hoc corrections, reifying our concepts, then we can then point to the very thing that refuted our claim and claim it's evidence of it, which is absolutely insane. Like, it's that simple. Like, the horizon's not actual, it's not physical, it needs to be if the Earth's a globe, but it's literally not. It's provably not. That's it. That is actually the end of the debate, in my opinion. Now, I know obviously people maybe disagree or they don't accept it. Let me run through these. If anyone has any different topics they want to bring up, like it can be about anything. I think we beat the horizon to the ground, pun intended. But let me read these donations real quick. So we got Scott Aquatic. I'll pop on the screen for you guys. Scott Aquatic, thank you for the $10 on Ko-fi. Least we can do for the good fight. Keep calm and speak truth unequivocally. Thank you so much for the support. And yeah, I'm still working on the stay calm thing. But thank you for the support. Shout out to all the miswits. Let's pop up here. Tom Roslin, thank you for the $30 tip. Hi from Norway. Norway is flat. Well, if it wasn't, it would be the one exception, eh? Thank you for the super chat. Much love. We got miswits all over the plane. Scott, thank you for the $25 tip. Much love and gratitude to you and everyone in the chat, even the globe troll I just saw pop in. Yeah, that's why I say don't censor them. We were all globies at one point.
No, we weren't.
You were never a globie?
No. I never believed the shit.
Wow. I think I did just by proxy, right? I just don't think I ever really thought about it. I will say, yeah, I mean, many of us never like truly informed ourselves about all the details in the counter positions and then like kept believing it. That's more of a rare.
I had doubt right from the very beginning.
Nice.
I never believed that a spinning ball could create gravity and pull things toward it. That was like so stupid to me.
It is pretty insane.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up, man? Let me just finish going through these real fast. I'm almost done. Justin Johnson, smash the like button. Reminder. Shout out to Justin, longtime supporter of the channel. Thank you for the $20 tip. And yeah, smash the like. Try to help with the algorithms. Smash the like button. Don't just hear it and then ignore it. And and facing reality shots, the level heads and FEF. Thank you for the $10 tip. That's level heads on X. That's Flat Earth Fridays every Friday night. They go pretty long time, like a marathon of FE. So shout out to them, Flat Earth Fridays, bunch of legends. And it's just anonymous Ko-fi supporter. Thank you for the $10 tip. Anyone that donates from here on out, I will check. Oh, November. Know you're going on with Tripoli, but keep hearing Rogan too in chat. It's true. $5 tip. This is out. Someone asked directly.
Hey, I got some insider info on the Joe Rogan situation. So there was actually a scheduling conflict. They were supposed to be filming it today, but Brian Cox was only available for today, and we had Schooling the Globers already booked in. So we'll have to reschedule. It's not the biggest deal, but it'll be at a later date. Sorry about that.
Did we get to throw rocks at Brian Cox?
Yeah, we'll have to reschedule Rogan, man. We'll have to do Rogan in a later date.
Give him just shoot him a call when we're done here, Alan.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, Alan jumped in on it with a quickness. All right. If anyone else has other tips, yeah, Leo Crow in Discord with you. Nuclear fusion on the sun has no proof and it's fake.
Yeah, dude, it's fake as fuck.
Yeah, that's you. Thank you for the tip, brother.
Yeah,
try to watch the weak words though, but it's all good. Yeah, I mean, honestly, dude, almost everything once you get out into space is super fake and made up.
You know what's fascinating is you look into the heliocentric model, right? And a lot of people got turned to flat Earth for one reason or another, and for me, like I got turned because of dude, how does the sun have nuclear fusion going on? And if you look at like how they say the sun has nuclear fusion going on, it's like ludicrous, just like everything else they say. How does the sun maintain an axial rotation? Like we can observe sunspots on the sun. So yeah, it does look like the sun is moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how does the sun maintain that axial rotation when it's basically a constant nuclear fireball, like imploding, exploding, you know?
In a vacuum. Excuse me, yeah.
Yeah, in a vacuum, right? Impossible. No way. And then you look into like what research has been done into like how did they discover nuclear fusion on the sun? There is no concrete evidence that actually happened at all. No way.
Assumptions.
Yeah, of course.
Would you be able to play a video for me, Witsit?
Oh yeah, sure. Depending on what it is.
I'll link it in the chat. So this is a good video you can use against Globers when they talk about boats going over the curve. So I'll please play the video.
You have it timestamped at 5:50, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Cool. Can you turn on the audio?
So, and so that's what you're thinking right
now. Who is this guy talking?
Now, well, pretty soon you'll see it as a no curver. And as I said in my video,
you're echoing on Discord,
no
bro.
curvature.
Oh, thank you. All right, I'll mute up.
There is no curvature of the Earth, and therefore boats go over no such thing. So just keep your eyes peeled. There'll be plenty of things I need to point out to you to pay attention to. And by the end, in a mere 15 minutes, you will no longer believe that boats go over any such curvature. So we've got another little boat coming along here, scootin' dootin', and we're going to pause it here in a second, and I'll show you why. If you look carefully, this is the line of the water. Now, the reason for that is if you zoom in, you can clearly see that these are all reflections. They are not any different part of the boat. This is a reflected image off the waterline, which is a little bit past the waterline that we can see. It is a mirage effect, also a mirroring effect, and we'll show more of that as time goes on. But you can see that. that clearly that is the line at the bottom of the boat. It is definitely a reflected image, as you can see here. You can even see the waves in the water slightly past the water line. So now we look up at the boat again and see it taking off. And if you kind of look carefully here, you can already start to see the same thing is happening. You can see the water in front of the boat, in between where the water line is and the actual boat. We'll try and zoom in here the best we can. And you should be able to see that that is clearly not the decor or the paint job of the boat. Sorry, let's scoot over here a little bit. There we go. And again, you can see the reflection of the water line. Look at the, call that a red circle right in the middle there. And you can see right through the center of it is the water line. I put a superimposed copy of the boat next to it so you could see that that is not the boat's direction, or sorry, that's not the boat's decoration. And the blue little wave is over there, tells you where the water is. So let's continue. Now, if you look at it, it kind of makes sense. You can see that red dot, and you can see the water is right up to the center of that red dot. You can see the waviness of it. Okay, now here, again, you might look at that and say, well, what happened to the red dot? And that is what is being miraged or mirrored by the water here. In fact, at the very front of the boat, you might see the white section towards the front bottom left there, and you may think that's the boat. It isn't the boat. It's actually a reflection of the sail. And if you were to look closely here, you can see that the entire boat is reflected in the water again, and the blue squiggly lines are an example of the water. So this is what is actually happening when we see boats supposedly go over the curvature. Now again, it is easy to understand why the ancients would have thought that that's what was happening. But in today's day and age, there's no more excuses. Now here I put a little arrow, and if you watch carefully, right at that line, you will see clearly the waves of water as they run by the boat, and you can see the reflection of the left sail in the water. That's not the boat, that is a reflection. Just like in this image here of the sunset, that is not the sun melting into the water, that is the actual water. Kind of reminds you of this image here, this gentleman walking on a mirage street, and obviously the bottom of his body has been eaten up. And that is what's happening on the ocean when we look at boats. The bottom of the boat has been eaten up. Here you can look underneath that right sail. There's nothing there, whereas the actual boat, which I superimposed, had different sections of the boat there.
At this point, it looks like only the sail is visible. Kick ass.
Yeah, Red. Kick ass. See, if you really were all about science, you'd conduct non-biased tests, not ones with a clear motive to prove current known facts. See, I'm challenging those facts, and well, I just knocked one of them off its perch. Now you can see here what most people would have taken as the entire sail of the boat, that the boat had gone over the curvature. But again, there is no boat behind any curve. You can see that little notch there would be the bottom of the sail. It is reflecting, and that's all you're seeing is the reflection of the sail on the water and the sail itself, and the boat is masked right behind that little divot. It's camouflaged. Again, the blue waves are water. Let's keep going. So you can watch that little notch, and if you kind of keep your eye on it, you can see how it starts to blend. And now we've got what people think is a sail, but that's not the sail of the boat. That is the sail and its reflection. Again, if you aren't convinced by this, hold on tight, it gets better. So now we fast forward a little bit further, and to anybody this would look like, clearly the boat is on the other side of the curvature. So that's what you would think. But then we'll zoom in over here at this boat racing in, and what do you see? Do you see the waves in the wake that this boat is kicking up? It's kicking up waves that are not part of the water that we can see. It's part of the backwater, the camouflage water. Look carefully, and you can clearly see that it is riding in the area that is being camouflaged and is being reflected off the sailboat. It is not riding in the water. It's riding in the actual water, but the water that's behind that hard edge, the water line is about here. And again, the curvy lines, blue lines, are the water. So let's continue on. So far, we've got no boat behind any curvature. It just doesn't happen. Again, you can see that boat riding on the invisible water. It's not riding on the water that it looks like to us. So now I added some gamma so that we could get a better view of what we were looking at. And I'll have you watch carefully because things get interesting.
You actually want to slow it down now.
Keep your eye on the screen.
He said he added gamma. Dude, he used the likeness and image of developers without their permission. He could totally be sued for this.
We could get a better view of what we were looking at. And I'll have you watch carefully because things get interesting. And keep your eye on the screen here. And as we super zoom in, we can actually watch where the waterline is. And how do we know that? Well, look at the reflection behind it. We can see that that item is reflecting off that waterline, which means the sails are...
To clarify, you're saying like actually slow it down from the original video speed?
Oh no, just play. That's fine. Yeah.
Our reflection, and the boat is simply camouflaged or hidden.
So some
behind
birds
that.
are going to come in, and you're going to see them
Nothing is behind
get refracted
any
above the
curvature of
waterline
any
and
Earth
disappear
at all.
before the horizon.
Again, it does get better. We're going to start seeing lots of birds, and the birds are going to be the key to knowing where that waterline is. Here comes a bird here. I drew the waterline for you, and you'll see the reflection of the bird as he goes into the water.
2 birds.
Start to keep an eye on these birds. You're going to see them left and right. Here comes another one. Did you see that one? Leaving on the right-hand side. Rewind it if you need to. And that is the waterline. So again, there is no boat behind any curvature. There's a lot more water that we can't see. And that boat, which looks like a sail, is not a sail at all. That's simply a sail and then its own reflection. Again, the boat at this point is plenty far away. It is hard to see. It is becoming distorted, and just like the first video we watched that showed us what happened to that bay as the day got warmer. I'll draw the water line again here. Keep an eye on it, and you saw the bird take off from the water. And that's why you see a reflection, just like...
You can even see the reflection of the bird, yeah.
Again here?
Yeah, there's 2 birds, right? Now, this
Keep an
video
eye
was
on it.
actually posted by Glover as proof of curvature, but this completely disproves this video as evidence. And also, like, you wouldn't know this if the birds weren't there. You'd taken it as a legit observation, but because the birds are there, it identifies that it's not true image what you're seeing. There's a refractive layer above the waterline that's hiding the rest of the boat.
Yeah, this perfectly elucidates the point too, for sure. Thank you for saying this. This is exactly what I'm saying. They would just, I guess you said someone actually posted, I guess Red's Rhetoric is who was talking, posted it as evidence of Earth curvature, and then he caught that that's not the case. But this is what would happen all the time. They'll just be like, oh, look, something's blocked in the distance. That means that the Earth's a ball. They do it all the time. So, yeah, this is awesome. You clearly can see the reflection of the bird. So not only does the bird just pop out of the sky when it's clearly coming out of the water, but you can see the reflection of it as it flies off, right? See, which is pretty fascinating.
It heads up.
All right, I'm going to play a little bit more. I think this is good.
And you saw the bird take off from the water. Keep an eye on it. And you saw the bird take off from the water. And that's why you see a reflection, just like the reflection of the sail. Now here we're going to see the boat driving by this green thing. Obviously the red line is the water line. And you see the top and bottom of the reflection, or the actual item, the green item, and then its reflection down below. So the water line, much higher than you would think. Just saw a bird dive into it. We'll see quite a bit more of that here coming. Again, we're zoomed in, and you can see that bird take off from the waterline and dive right back into the water. You can see that the water is several levels above what we would think. We think that hard line right there is the end of the water. But the water continues, and that boat is continuing out far away from us, way at the edge of that water. Keep an eye on this water line. You'll see in a second some birds take off here. There it goes. And you can see right there, I'll pause it, the reflection off the water of the bird as it takes off. That's the water line, which means that's where the boat is. Which means everything below that is simply a reflection on the water. Hope this is making sense to you. It's certainly the truth. It certainly is exactly what's going on. It's just been something that's hard for us to decipher and figure out, but now that we know that that's what's happening, this water is just continuing. We'll continue watching here and see if we see anything else with this water line. Again, what we're looking at is the sail above the water and then the sail being reflected. Okay, you see this bird here? Pause it there for the reflection. as it takes off. And it is leaping from or flying from the waterline. Here comes another one. There you go. You can see that bird flying, and that bird will actually go right in front of the boat, I believe. Okay, now we're just keep your eyes out. You can never know when you're going to see a lot of birds flying around. Just watch where they come from. Watch where they dive to. They're out there playing in the water. They're in the water. Hopefully you saw that. If not, rewind it. They took nosedives out into either empty space or the water that is camouflaged. See this bird flying right in front, and the reflection is there the whole time. So that's all water. It means no boats go over or behind any curvature. They simply go out away from your view, and due to atmospheric conditions and temperature gradients and inversion, you name it, that's what's causing the problems that we see. So my question still remains, will Red be man enough, will he be intellectually honest enough to admit that he was wrong about this boat going over the curvature, or will he just take this evidence that I'm giving and refute it by
I'm going to go on a limb and say that didn't happen.
saying, nope, that boat's over the curvature, which
so the
it
important
clearly
thing to
is not.
note is that with the P900 camera, you can see further, but eventually things are going to get too far away. There's just too much atmosphere that you're looking through that you're going to have stuff like this happen. That makes sense.
No, yeah. If anyone's gone out with observations with the P900 or P1000, when you zoom in super far away, like it gets crazy. It gets crazy. And that's on the clearest day ever. Like on the clearest day ever, if you look out over the ocean, and I've looked out over the ocean with all kinds of different climates, etc. If you pull out your P1000 or P900 and you zoom all the way in, as you like start to get even like 60, 70% zoomed, it starts to look wild, bro. Even in infrared. And that's what you're seeing when you see the horizon, right? You're seeing as far as you can see.
So I sent another video. Can you play that? A Glober sent this before.
Let me grab it. Yeah. What, audio on?
So can you see? Doesn't matter. Can you see the boat on the left? The same thing is happening. There's that, you can draw a line above the horizon and it's refracting everything. Pause it. So that it's more clear, like clearer frame.
Do I?
Like pause it, then unpause it quickly. Yeah, so yeah, perfect. Can you see how on the right there you have those little ones? It's all, there's a refractive line. Yeah, see that? So you could draw a line above the water line and you can see where the mirroring is happening.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you drew one from right here across.
Yeah, same thing that happened in the other video. But there are no birds, right? Lucky the other video had birds.
Yeah, it's so funny, man. But these are videos that globe earthers are claiming proves the Earth's a globe, and they just objectively do not.
So why don't they ever like do a real test where they watch it for a long period of time, watch the weather change, just time lapse it, tell you how far it is. It's only a 27-second clip like this. No questions asked.
Yeah, because if you do that, you see what happens.
Yeah, you like, who knows? Maybe if you wait, you will see the whole boat again within a couple hours.
Yeah, literally, things change drastically, bro. I think this is pretty telling. And this is the same thing we see in all these other videos. And this is what's so funny, right? Obviously, this effect is going to be more common over water. And where are we trying to make all these observations? Over water, right? Obviously, to avoid like topography and stuff. So we're like maximizing the chances of this happening.
So they'll tell you like boats going over curve proves that there's a curve, but they'll also admit that's not the real curve you're seeing. It's like you're seeing it, but it's like refracting up. Exactly. Do you get what I mean? Like it'll be way further than it should be, but you're just seeing it it's really going down a further curve, but it's placing itself up. So you're eventually seeing it eventually drop way above, way further than where the curve should be geometrically.
Yeah, something else that's so funny is like say we see something that should be fully obstructed, and then they say it's just refracted. It's like how convenient that refraction always operates in such a way to make the Earth look flat. Like, why do we not see stuff just floating way up in the sky, right? Like, why does it always just stop where it would be on like a flat Earth?
It's always right in the perfect spot. Yeah.
yeah. It's so stupid, dude.
Same with gravity and Earth spin at different altitude. Everything moves to it 1 to 1 degree. That's undetectable. No matter where you are on the Earth as well. You know, there's different spin rates, different parts of the Earth. But gravity is perfect on all altitudes and all locations on Earth. So you can't detect it. Spin. You don't get left behind.
Oh, is this actually a playlist? Yeah, I think that like if you have a conversation with someone about this and they don't kind of concede on these fronts with these videos, for example, then
yeah, it's like why can't they just accept? Okay, I guess this whole boat going over the curve thing doesn't prove the globe. Let me try and find something else. You know, it doesn't mean the Earth is flat. It's just that this is no evidence.
Yeah, but do we all agree that clearly it is a thing that we still have to like occasionally make sure that we address or discuss because every single one of them say it.
It's hard for them to let go of it for some reason. Even though it's so obvious.
I guarantee you, and I don't know why no Globers are jumping on, but if you ask any Globe Earth proponents in this room at any time, if they think that boats going over behind the horizon or over the horizon prove the Earth is a globe, they'll say yes. Right? They'll say that. They'll all say yes, pretty much universally.
Maybe what you should do is you should try to find this original video from Red and be like, does this prove it? And then once they say yes, then show them the birds, and then ask them again.
That's true. Yeah, that's weird. It sucks that like you have to be almost deceptive to even. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, bro. To me, like a truth seeker is going to be like, oh wow, like that is totally misleading to claim that's the curve of the Earth because it's provably not, and I should reassess. And people that don't do that, I mean, you know, they're not going to wake up to it anyway. That's why I ask, like, if the Earth was flat, would you want to know? And I think a lot of people say yes, but don't really mean it.
Yeah. And the other Glober that was in here is basically, you destroyed him. He was basically saying, like, it's easier to follow authority, and the idea that there's a working model, like, that's enough for him, you know? Authority confirms it, and there's a quote-unquote working model. It's like, why even think about it or look further?
Yeah, exactly, man. Well, no, thank you for sending the videos. They perfectly elucidate the point. And, dude, this is what I'm trying to point out. Like, I think that this happens all the time. Like, I don't think you can look over long distances of water and not have any reflective effect.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy because this also goes to the point, like, how can you even send us a video over water of an alleged horizon anyway as evidence of curvature when you then turn around and say that we never see the actual geometric horizon? Right? Like, that's...
Yeah.
Like, on its face, it's stupid. Well, okay, cool. Anybody have something they want to throw in?
I do. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Sweet. Yeah, I just had a quick question about so you know how like you see the moon in the sky and the sun in the sky, and sometimes you'll see both of them at the same time. Well, I was able to film that happen, and I even got it on a good day where the moon was only half lit. And I put it on Twitter and I tried to get people to like, you know, converse on it and just explore like, okay, well, if the moon is reflective, then why isn't it fully lit? Or, you know, any other direction you want to take it. But two globe earthers, they were real quick to jump
Can
on.
you show us the video?
Yeah, I posted links to the video and the picture in the chat. I wanted to directly post the content, but it won't let me. So I just put links in there.
Which chat?
The chat for this live stream. I think it's
Okay, cool.
live stream one text.
It's on Twitter.
Yeah, my posts I made on Twitter, but the links are Twitter links.
Gotcha.
One is for basically I took the video and then I realized I should have done a panoramic shot. So I kind of went back into the video and kind of clipped a bunch of images from the video and tried to line it up, but the software in my phone wouldn't let me do what I really wanted to do. So I just tried to illustrate it as good as I can, because you can see in the picture like it's really up for interpretation whether you want to say, okay, yeah, that's the sun casting light on the moon and the shadow isn't the shadow of Earth, it's the shadow of the moon because it's a 3D object. But I'm like, okay, if that's the case, then shouldn't the light be like at the same orientation as the sun? Like, so it should be like perfectly flat, because if you're a ball and you shine light on you, yeah, you're going to cast a shadow, but to me, it looks like the shadow's off. It's not properly orientated, let alone the point that they tell us that the whole thing is reflective. So if the whole thing's reflective and it's being hit by light, wouldn't the whole thing shine? But then they're like, oh no, it's 3D. So it's casting its own shadow. And I'm like, okay, I can see it either way. So that's my problem. Any clues or hints or insight?
So it's kind of hard to tell where they're positioned when you have a photo like that.
Yeah.
Like if you have the video. Also, the sun in their model is supposed to be 95 million miles away. Did you imagine that? You're looking at it?
No. I mean, distance, though,
That's
it's
important.
so, humans, we don't really calculate distance well at that scale. We're good small scale, big scale,
Yeah.
not so much. And that's part of the problem of discussing all this stuff is we're
I
talking
mean, I'm
about
a
stuff
flat
we
earther,
can't
and I
observe.
believe that the sun and moon are pretty lined up. Like the side that has the light is lined up exactly with the sun. Like it'll tell you the direction of the sun and its height, but more on a local scale.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I got something I thought about the other day. I'm curious what the room's take is actually. So I'm gonna share here. I'll look up the picture, and I'm curious. So they claim that there is moon during solar eclipse images. They claim that this is a picture, an actual picture of the moon, with like many pictures taken and then overlaid. Okay, right here. This is supposedly a real picture of the moon during a solar eclipse. And they claim that you can see it because of earth shine. Okay? Because obviously it's not like the sun lighting it up. So my question is, if we can see the moon in this picture because of earth shine, then why can we not see the new moon?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So this is supposedly a picture of the moon during a solar eclipse, right? And you know that happens during the new moon. And they claim that even though the sun's behind the moon here, the reason you can see it in the picture is because of earth shine, meaning like light is reflecting off the earth to the moon, and that's what allows us to see the moon. So they say the reason we can see the moon is because of earth shine. And my question is, if that's true, then why can't we see the moon during the new moon?
Yeah, because I mean, it's supposed to still be there, right?
Yes, the globe Earth model, of course, says you can't see the moon during the new moon phase because the light from the sun is not hitting the side of Earth or side of the moon that's facing us. Right?
Is it 100% invisible during the new moon?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, even you just look at like the calendars, and it always shows the new moon is the one where you don't see any moon at all. It's just a empty circle because we don't ever see it during that time period. But yeah, that's a really good question.
I didn't know you could see the moon like that during the solar eclipse. I thought it was just black.
Oh, good. I mean, I'm not claiming this necessarily even is real, but it's certainly claimed to be real, right? Like,
Well, you know what's interesting about that picture that you pointed out is I've been taking a lot of pictures of the moon in all of its phases, trying to better understand it. And I caught it on the end. I think it was waning, and it was the hardest crescent you can get right before it goes into the new moon. But what was weird is when I was trying to take pictures of it, because this phone has 100 times zoom, so I can get pretty close. And what was weird was when I was bouncing between 50 to 100, and I have the photos, so I can show you if you want. I just gotta like add them or whatever. But you could see the same appearance of the moon as that image you were showing, only just that tiny little edge of it was being lit up, but you could still see the rest of the moon as clear as in that picture. So it does appear that way sometimes, but I don't know.
Yeah, you can definitely see the silhouette of the moon with the naked eye when the moon's like a crescent or whatever. And they would say that it's nighttime. We can't see the sun. The sun's like far on the other side of the earth, but you can see how the sun is lighting up just the edge of the moon. But then the whole rest of the moon, like we can totally see its silhouette, like against the black sky. It's kind of like dark gray or whatever.
Yeah, and so a 3D object wouldn't have that behavior if that's what's supposedly casting the shadow.
I'm curious, like, what's the globe answer to my question, though? Like, can anyone think of one, like, that the Earth shine is shining on the moon, but that it's not bright enough to see it, which then immediately defeats the initial claim that you can see it in this picture because of Earth shine. And, it's a good question anyway, because, if you actually look at the numbers, why would the Earth shine not be brighter? And some people claim Earthshine is actually brighter than moonshine. Right? So then some people maybe would say it's not because of atmosphere, but I don't think that actually works. But either way, there's Earthshine reflecting onto the moon, supposedly so much so you can see this picture here. Okay, but the official answer, right? Why can't you see the moon on a new moon? And the answer is, from Earth, we see only the portion of the moon that is both facing our planet and reflecting light. In the case of a new moon, the moon is between Earth and the sun, so the side of the moon facing the sun isn't facing us. We can't see any portion of the lit up moon during this phase. Why can't we still see it, though, if there's Earth shine, especially if you're going to turn around and claim that this is real?
I guess you could argue that during the eclipse, it's a different time of day, so it's a different position of the sun. That's the only thing I can think of.
This would be the primary time you wouldn't be able to see it, though, right? Because it's directly behind the moon, so you're definitely not getting the light from the sun shining on the moon. And the only thing I could think of, they say, well, the reason you can see it here, because they claim this is 32 images stacked on top of each other, that then makes the moon visible. So then would the claim be we could track where the moon should be, take multiple images, stack it on top, and then we can see the new moon? Like, I don't know. Pictures of the new moon.
I mean, the thing that kind of pops into my mind when you're talking is like, isn't somewhere in science they say like space is curved and that light bends around space? So maybe it's the light curving around the moon. I don't know. I'm just riffing.
What is this?
Solar eclipse.
Okay, well then that's.
It looks like there's no photos of it because you can't see it.
Yeah, exactly. You can't see the new moon, right? So I'm just saying, does everyone see that's a clear contradiction? Like if someone claims that this is real, which by the way they do, Because the flat earthers for years have been pointing out, like, well, you never see the moon, right? Like, if the moon's supposedly going in front of the sun, and this is such a definitive geometrical relationship, it's reliable, we can know it's going to be there, blah, 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 then why don't we ever see, you don't see the moon approaching it. You don't, like, that's not a real thing. And then this picture surfaced, and mind you, this isn't from NASA or anything. This is like some amateur astronomer that supposedly took the pictures. Conveniently 2016, right when flat earth pops up. And so almost all the globe earthers will present this as, first of all, it's obviously no refutation anyway, but it's like flat earthers are reasonable to question the claim in its entirety, right? Because you don't see the moon going in front of the sun anyway. Then this picture pops up and they say it's because of earthshine.
Yes, so my thing with this is it's admittedly, they should say, admit it's a composite. That's how they constructed this image. They took multiple exposures, they say. And so when I first heard that, I thought, okay, so then that means they used multiple cameras and took one photo at the same time. But no, it's just over a period of time, they claim they took multiple exposures, super high exposure, super low exposure, and that allows them to get that insane dynamic range, they claim, to have this image. And then if you go, the Glober will present this and they'll present the specs, quote unquote, that the person provided of the composite. And the person says how they did it. But what is lacking from all of that is the composite images. All of the images that are used to make this composite are not included. Everything about the methodology, they claim that that's all included. They lay it out. But I would want to see all of the images that make this up. And then that would make it more intriguing, right? But without that, it's just, it's just a cool Photoshop.
Yeah, I'm sharing the screen with you guys. You see this picture here, man? Like, yeah, looks cool or whatever. But like, and I agree with your assessment completely. But this is actually a major problem for them. As far as I can
Even if you concede it to be a real photo and it is the moon causing solar eclipses, how does that prove the globe?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But that's what I'm saying. Like, flat earthers have just pointed out, like, wait, do you even have evidence it actually is the moon causing it? Because we don't ever see the moon like approaching the sun or something. Right? Yeah. And then they show us this picture. And my point is, within your paradigm, if the reason you can supposedly take this picture is because of earthshine, then wouldn't we be able to always see the moon during the new moon phase? Even if it takes long exposure.
It's not completely
How would be a
related.
strategy to find the moon? Because it disappeared.
Well, supposedly you should know exactly where it is in the globe model. You should know exactly where the moon is, right? I mean,
Wrong button. What about infrared?
Well, doesn't this kind of like imply that there's, number one, there's some kind of electromagnetic phenomenon happening, but number two, I mean, even if you look at that photo up there, doesn't it appear as if there's like polar looking flux lines coming off around those circles?
oh yeah, man, I have a picture that elucidates this very well. I'm gonna pull it up, my PowerPoint, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, this came up in the Discord recently. We were talking about it, and then I realized, like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. I don't know. Well, this is the real question. Do you think that any of them are going to like reassess their claim or something? Like,
some of them, but not
the
main ones.
With the sun directly behind it.
Say again.
Wouldn't it be harder to get to see if the sun is directly behind it? Like, it would make it harder.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes this exposure even trickier.
So then you should then be able to do the same thing as Witsit is saying everywhere else. If it is Earth's shine. And it would be easier other places.
Try to find this. What's it called? Fractal reality. All right, here, I'll share this with you guys.
I also did a quick search on just the word solar eclipse, and I don't know if it'll be your first result, but they have a graphic showing how the light hits the moon and the earth according to their model. And you have the umbra and the penumbra, and it looks like you might be able to attribute this earth glow or earth shine or whatever to that penumbra. If you could see the image, you can kind of see how there is a crown shape forming as a result of the shadow being cast by the moon. But yeah, since I mean, what is Earth covered in? A pretty reflective surface of water. I mean, it's plausible.
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to go into the ocean and see the new moon, no problem. Hey, Piezo, you see this?
Yeah, bro.
Pretty crazy.
Hmm.
I mean, that looks identical, right? Obviously.
What would be interesting is if someone could like take the solar filter over their camera and find a way to like I don't know, induce some kind of oscillation like in the aperture of like the lens which you're viewing this, and see if that like geometry would change relative to that oscillation.
You know what's so funny is this is one of the main things they tried to say that I said that was word salad, kind of talking about the phases and eclipses. But no, actually, I think it's a pretty profound point, which is like to try to understand what's going on in this image on the left. Here's the Ferrocell image of a magnetic field. What's in the middle, right? Like it's just black. Well, it's counter space. But what you find out is the bigger this black hole, the stronger the magnetic field. Not the bigger the magnetic field, but the bigger the black hole in the center, right? And so if this was counter space, this was a spatial extension. So the magnetic field is the spatial extension, and then the actual central point is inertial. It's counter spatial. And then what you have is the manifestation of the field coming out of there. Basically, that's a portal to the ether. And like if someone thinks that sounds woo-woo or whatever, like no, that's like what it would be, right? All that to say, what if the sun goes through a cycle like that? Or even the moon. That's what I was saying. Like now we're just seeing the magnetic field after it's manifested here, right? Now imagine if you were able to film and slow-mo the magnetic field being created. Well, then you would slowly start to see this black hole develop with the magnetic field around it. So if there was some type of cycle of the lights in the sky that go back to their inertial state and then come back to being manifested in spatial extension, right? Physically manifested, then you could see it. What if that's what we're seeing during like an eclipse, right? We're actually seeing this transition period, right? Because I mean, not only does the geometric pattern around it look the same, it literally looks the same all around. Like you have the black hole with the bright ring around it. And so it's like, it's just an idea. It does certainly look like a circle goes in front of it, but it looks way too similar to just dismiss it being a magnetic phenomena.
Do you think the center of a ferrocell is a black body that absorbs EMF radiation?
Well, I mean, black bodies are ideal, right? They're idealized, but yeah, maybe so. Yeah, black. I mean, I think that where they get the idea of a black body or where they get the idea of a black hole is all magnetic.
Like if we were to shoot a laser beam perpendicular straight through the center of that to try to shoot it to the other side, do you think we'd be able to get it to the other side? Do you think it would just get like eaten?
Good question. That's a good question. It would be tough to do that with a ferrocell, but because you have like two optical flats and then you have ferrofluid, so you're obviously going to have the diffraction from the glass. You should still be able to go relatively through the center though and see what happens.
Perfectly centered and perfectly 90 degrees.
I mean, what's crazy, what we see clearly is like there's LED lights lined up all the way around the ferrocell, right? Like that's why we're getting this image. We have ferrofluid in there. So we're not seeing the magnetic field per se. What we're seeing is the ferrofluid and the geometry it takes based on the geometric expression of the magnetic field. And then based on that distribution of fluid, it lights up relative to the different densities, right? The different fluid, the position of the fluids. So then it gives you like a visualization of the field, and then you get no light in the center. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. What do they say about black holes, right? They say that light just gets swallowed up in it, and somehow they then claim to take a picture of it or whatever. But and if there is anything akin to this actually going on in the sky, it would have to be magnetic, right?
That reminds me a lot of I just dropped a link in the chat. This LaPointe guy has, built this device it reminds me of this because he builds like kind of like two half domes with magnets and orients them in like a half spheroidal configuration on each side, and then inducts like a magnetic field, and then it has like these two planes of magnetic fields meeting in the center, and he's claiming to pull out like dielectric inertia or whatever out of it and get energy out of nothing, effectively.
I mean, that's what, I would say that's what all energy is coming out of, well, there is no such thing as nothing, right? But yeah, ether. I would certainly say conceptually it fits within what I understand. Like the center of the magnetic field is like a portal to the ether. It's like, can you show me a picture of the ether? It's like, well, that's a ridiculous question, but like, look at a Ferrocell.
Yeah, it flattens out in the center there. That part where it flattens out right in the center, like as it infinitely approaches to whatever the true center is between those two like flattened discs that it makes, that's like the point that he's like claiming to be pulling energy out of.
Yo, and you see, that also trips me out thinking about the Earth, and we're on the plane of inertia, the inertial plane, black domain wall through the center there, and then it climaxes into the center. All that to say, you could pull infinite energy from the center of the Earth. Don't you think that they would be doing that if you can do that? Like, think about the amount of energy that would be coming from like the Earth's torus field.
I don't know if they'd even be able to get to it though.
That's
if there'd be like a magnetic barrier preventing them to like, I think this guy's set up here, I'm pretty sure the amount of energy he can pull out is proportional to like how strong the magnetic field is, but he specifically doesn't have to introduce like it's not, he's actually like making a net gain of energy. Like it's touted as a energy production system. He calls it like primer fusion with primer fields. Like it's like similar to nuclear fusion but with primer fields. So there's like no emissions, no radiation, no anything.
Yeah, but I mean, in theory, right? Like, even if you didn't get all the way to the center, you would be able to utilize kind of like that, like the motion of centrifugal divergence coming from the perimeter. Like when they try to make like the most efficient energy devices, all they do is make a torus field, right? Like even nuclear, quote unquote, nuclear fusion or fusion devices. I don't know. To me, it just makes me think like you could run like the world's strongest supercomputer infinitely just using the Earth.
Well, all those big supercomputers buried underneath the ocean that we don't know about that keeps them cooled off perpetually, right?
Exactly.
Dissipation.
And they've built a network of those all around, and now they're rolling out AI, and they want to digitize everything. And like, what would be the safest way to prevent it from ever going down? What would be to have like infinite energy feeding them, right? Like, the one thing you'd be in trouble with is like the electricity going away to run the computer.
Right. Can you go back real quick on that clip, like back like 5 or 10 seconds? Yeah, so right there, so that center point if you see, it looks kind of like he's got like a little needle in the middle. So he's like apparently creating what's effectively a funnel, and but the funnel isn't physical. The funnel is made by the converging like magnetic fields creating pressure on the dielectric field, and that dielectric field is like squeezing this like inertial potential, which is converted into electric current, like out of it, and it's coming out those green lines, that little needle that's sticking up and coming. How that little needle is like penetrating that little red dome. That's right there is the electricity coming out. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, all right, I'm gonna wrap up the show, I think. All right, let me pop over. Cool. Anyone have any final thoughts you want to throw in? And then I'm just gonna kind of recap. We'll read the donations one more time, and then we'll get out of here because it's already 2 a.m. Pretty basic topic today, but.
How are you, Witsit? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I was. I'm probably a little bit late in now, but I was going to get you to play a video that would show a changing horizon from earlier in the morning to later in the day, and then something completely different the very next day.
Sure.
But if you want to get going, that's all good.
No, you can drop the video in the chat if you want to.
Yeah, I did. Hold on, maybe I should maybe still saved on. Maybe I'll drop it again. Yeah, I just dropped it in then.
All right.
Can you hear me okay? Because I'm actually in the car, so I've got you on loudspeaker.
Yeah. All right, audio or no audio?
Yeah, so good. No, I don't do audio. That's fine. Just sort of like flick through if you can. You'll see the very first observation in the morning. It's like a really heavy inferior mirage, and there's probably like almost sort of 80% of the ships are blocked. So if you skip through a little bit. So you can see the inferior mirage there. I'm just going to show the next ship as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
So you can see what you're seeing there is way too much as well. There's way too much hidden there, according to the globe model anyway. That's why I have like a globe prediction and then actual horizon. It's small at the moment, so I can't see what it is. But now we're looking at later in the day. Same ships, same distance. Look at the difference of them now. You can pause on that for a second if you want. So just a moment ago, you had ships that were almost completely hidden in an inferior mirage, and now you have ships that are completely visible.
Wow, yeah.
So, and it'll go through to the next ship as well. And then if you get on to the next day, you'll see it's completely different again. The ships are still pretty visible, but there's different hazy conditions. And all that we have here is on the first one, you had a horizon real close to you, and just there, the horizon's far away. So I could show on different day, like on, I have to do it on a different video another time, but I'd be able to show that when you could see the whole ship, the horizon was far away, and when you couldn't see the ship in the first part, you had a horizon that was much closer to you. So you see here, so this is just 2 consecutive days, morning and night, morning and night. And you can see the massive difference between the way of what we're seeing. So when we're seeing something within an inferior mirage is it's sort of just bringing the horizon so close to you. It's ramping the horizon up and blocking everything from behind at a much faster rate.
Oh, these are dope.
So, and these are all the same ships, basically. That's right, you can stop it now. That's all just going over the actual ship data to show where they were and where I got the numbers from. So you can stop that now.
Nice.
But yeah, so you can see from that very first observation just how much was blocked, and then just later in the day, I mean, it's probably about like 7 or 8 or 9 hours later in the day, now you have ships that are completely visible. I actually have another video there as well, but I'm not posting it because you want to go anyway. But where over a 3-hour period, you see a ship go from about probably sort of maybe around 60% blocked to being 100% visible over a 3-hour period.
That's the
So it
that's
just
the
goes
Earth
back to
breathing,
the.
bro.
Sorry?
That was the Earth breathing in and out, bro.
Yeah, man, I was doing yoga, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
Having a bit of a stretch, clearing the lungs.
By the way, I dropped his Twitter or X, whatever, Plain Reality. I dropped his link in the chat, so guys, go follow him on there. Show him some love.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'll jump off now, man, and let you get going. Just thought maybe you might want to have a look at that, just to show the difference that you get daily, like from earlier in the day. I'm actually going to work on one because that I've got about maybe 400 sightings of those houses in the Buddha. So I'm going to do a daily photograph, like a daily screenshot of them, and then just sort of like let them keep going through and just compare it all. You'll see the difference in the way that the actual water level will rise and fall. So I think that'll be an interesting one as well in the future. But anyway, man, thanks, bro.
No, yeah, thanks for jumping on, man. All right, I am gonna get out of here, but let me read the double check donations real quick. All right, we got Joshua Kelly. Have you seen footage of 2 or 3 suns diagonally visible? I've seen multiple videos on this, and most of them also show a lens flare that is separate, so that I know that's not the case. What are your thoughts on it if you have? By the way, really appreciate your work. Much love. Thank you for the $10 tip. I don't know exactly what video that you're referencing, but if you want to send it to me, say in Telegram at Witsit, or you can try to email it to me, Witsit@Portman, I'll definitely check it out. And I think, there are seemingly layers of containment, differentials, and medium, and limits to our vision. So I know that the sun we see is in a apparent location. If you even look at how we determine sunset time and stuff, it's called it's in a time equation of time, and it's just using the apparent position. So it doesn't particularly surprise me, to be honest, because I think that it's all merely optics and apparent location. And so kind of depending on what's above us, maybe you would see reflections, relative displacements, etc. But I'll have to see it to make an exact assessment. But yeah, very interesting. Definitely send it to me if you want to, and I'll check it out. But thank you for the support. And Big Pete Pear, very generous $50 tip. Keep going. Will do. Thank you so much for the very, very generous donation. I appreciate it. And yeah, don't worry, brother. I'm gonna keep going. All right, cool. I'm gonna get out of here. Stay tuned to the next stream. I think I'm probably gonna stream tomorrow, but I got some big announcements, so I'll talk about the Sam Tripoli thing and kind of what I need to get done to be able to go make sure that I can get there. And then I have another pretty big personal announcement that I'll be making, I think, tomorrow, whenever the next stream is. So you guys definitely want to stay tuned for that. Anyone on the panel want to kind of plug their channels or anything like that, or say some closing remarks? Go ahead.
Yo, yeah, just real quick. It was a super straightforward topic that requires visuals, but those were perfect visuals tonight, and what Plain Reality showed was perfect as well. But also, I think you made the best point, which that there's no better way to figure this out than to get out and just look for yourself, do your own observations. If you have a camera with some nice optics, that's the best way to do it. But just get yourself some binoculars and just go start looking at the, look at the coast, look at, just whenever you have a chance to make an observation, just, let it sink into your brain, map it into your brain, what the geometry of the world you live in. So yeah, that, and then so tomorrow night on Ether Cosmology, we'll be doing some reading. I'm not totally sure what we'll be doing reading into yet. Probably maybe another Chan Chu paper debunking some aspect of relativity. But then on Friday, there's Flat Earth Fridays. Shout out to the Level Heads on X or Twitter. And then we will see you guys next Schooling Globers as well.
Nice. Yeah. Go show them some love over at EtherCause and FEF on X. All right. Who else wants to go?
Hey, sorry,
Just
can I
wanted to
just
say thank you.
quickly say something
Go
about
ahead,
what
Blaine.
Toby was just saying there?
Mhm.
Sorry, when people go out and do their own observations, so when you do that and if you're looking at ships or any land, make sure that you know how far they are, that you can get a marine tracker and figure out how far away those ships are and what your height is. Because what people keep doing, I get this all the time, is that they'll just show a photo and they'll go, there you go, curve of the Earth, look, ship half blocked. And then I'll say, okay, well, how high was the person? What's the camera observation height? How far is it to the ship? And where's the evidence for these things so that you can actually show me that what you're telling me is real? Because as you see with what I just posted then, you have one day that was well beyond, hiding so much more of what the globe would predict, and another day hiding far less than what the globe would predict. But if you were to show that first one to a glober, they would just say, there you go, see, Earth curve. But there was actually about 40 foot more blocked than what should have been blocked, which was like double the amount. So if people go out and do your own observations, make sure you actually have a look and get the data as well. Because it may look like, you see a ship half over the curve, but that doesn't mean anything. It just means that the refractive conditions on that day, that's what it's showing you. So get to know by actually taking by actually getting the data from, say, a marine app or something like that, and then you'll see that, oh, hold on, this isn't matching the actual curve of the Earth in any way, shape, or form. Not even standard refraction, nothing that they tell us. Very rarely, I think about 1 or 2% of the time, have I ever filmed something that would match the geometric horizon.
Wow.
But yeah, sorry, man, that's just a quick little 2 cents worth in. If people are going to go out and do their own observations, make sure you get the data. So that way you can actually look at it and understand yourself that, hold it, even though this is being blocked, it's not matching what we're being told the curve should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, sorry.
No, thanks for throwing that in. I encourage people to do it as well. And Plain Reality is a perfect example of someone that's gone over and beyond. So, like I said, go show him some love on YouTube and on X. I dropped his X in the chat. And people should kind of go over there so we can make a true Earth presence be felt there. Cool. Because, like I said, occasionally I'll make a post and get like 100K, 120K views. So I think it's definitely worth going over there. All right, cool. Anyone else on the panel want to say some final things?
Alan should plug his channel. I did have one closing remark real quick. To everybody, out there in the community who watches this stuff and researches this stuff, be persistent with it. Continue to absorb information, continue to gain knowledge, continue to, tell the people close to you. We find that, these people that continue to fight against the truth are kind of juxtaposed between a benefit and a detriment, right? They find themselves caught in this internal conflict between, on the one hand, accepting the truth and the knowledge of like the ether and the world in which we live in and the state of affairs of nature, as it were. And on the other hand, and the implications that come with that. And on the other hand, the implications of accepting those things spiritually. And so the benefits are like, wow, if all this is true and, we're not a ball spinning around, circling, orbiting in a giant universe, then, and there's like, all of this medium and, counter space and the potential of maybe free energy for the world, that would be a huge benefit to society. But on the other hand, if I accept all these implications, I also have to accept the implications that are, spiritual in nature and personal accountability. And oftentimes we find that personal accountability has more weight for them than like universal benefits to mankind. So it's just something to think about. That's the level of cognitive dissonance that we're dealing with. But don't give up. It's never a lost battle. Just keep fighting the good fight, and we'll win.
Nice. Very well said. did get a new super chat. Proper FPV says, I'm sorry for being a tool. Peace out, everyone. Oh man, it's a guy going ham in the chat. It's obviously he apologized for being a tool. At least he's aware of his behavior. All right. Anyone else got some final closing remarks?
Just wanted to say thank you for letting me have a mic, and I just want to encourage everyone as we go looking for the truth. Just remember, whether you're on the side of authority or on the side of anti-authority, we all have a stake in the game, and everybody's got feelings and emotions, so try to be kind. We're all learning. And thanks again.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for jumping on. Anyone else? All right, well,
space audits on YouTube. Toby plugged himself. I'll just plug Alan real quick since he doesn't appear to be here. Check out Ether Cosmology and space audits on YouTube.
Exactly, I was about to say it. So perfect. All right, cool. I'm going to wrap it up. I thank you guys for jumping on with us. All right, I'll pop over to SoloCam. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right now, but the simple conclusion is that the horizon is apparent. It's not actual. It's not physical. It's not tangible. They've moved the goalpost the entire time, but it fluctuates optically. We see way too far. People hijack optics in the Atmos and claim that it's physical, but it's not. The question is, of course, if we never see the actual physical, tangible, presupposed obstruction or curvature of Earth, how do you know it's there in the first place? The answer is, of course, you do not. You have to just assume it. So the horizon is apparent, moves around. Pretty simple stuff, basic stuff. You would have a horizon on a plane Earth. It's where the sky appears to meet the ground. Just because of perspective, things above you ramp down, things below you ramp up. They begin to converge. They merge together. It's like a fuzzy gradient area. And that's what we actually see in reality. Stay tuned to the next stream. Got some major announcements to make. Sam Tripoli, April 17th. I got a stream tentatively with Adam Green on the 3rd. I got Alpha Vedic on the 4th and a few more. And we just got to figure out how, make sure I can get out to LA for the Tripoli podcast. If anyone wants to help with that, reach out to me, etc. But we'll talk about it more later. And big personal announcement coming soon, so definitely stay tuned. And that's about it. So basically, like with everything, like I said earlier, we're told a lot of stuff, and then people will kind of ridicule you and mock and project kind of their own discomfort with the idea of not fitting in, but that should never stop you or deter you away from looking into it. And if you really want to know the truth, or you want to be confident in any of your conclusions, regardless of what they are, you need to be able to fully interpret, represent, and articulate the alternative position. In fact, every facet of that position, where you can truly be confident in your conclusion, much less make overly confident assertions. So seek and speak truth unequivocally, and the weak find contentment in the consensus of ignorance. So who cares what other people think? And when you get attacked and they revile you for his name's sake or for the truth's sake, rejoice. They did it to all the prophets before you. If you want to support, links in the description, and just stay tuned for all the announcements, including merchandise, etc. I got you guys. Should be streaming tomorrow. All right. And what's true is rarely popular. What's true is rarely popular, and what's popular is rarely true. All right. Peace out.
Days after days, pseudoscience just a big charade, making theories they just can't explain, on philosophically biased claims. Days after days, we break away just like a renegade, so pay attention, gonna get a grade. We're schooling globers till they all awake. Schooling globers with diplomas and a chip on the shoulder. Debate is over, mind is sober, solar system disclosure. Can't go back once you heard the facts. We make a pact, never take the vax. Schooling ballers and the followers that give them the dollars. They try to holler in the chat that you're a fraud, not a scholar. They hating y'all, that's why they attack. The earth is flat no matter how much they laugh. Days after days, pseudoscience just a big charade, making theories they just can't explain, on philosophically biased claims. days, days. We break away just like a renegade. So pay attention, gonna get a grade. We schooling globers till they all away.